This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Game 6, game day, Stanley Cup playoffs, Jets, Blues. How we feeling, Jets fans? Welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Huss and Reem with you for the next couple hours and then some. Getting ready for our 7 o'clock puck drop tonight with the Jets 1 win away from moving on to the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs after an amazing Game 5 performance in the absence of Mark Scheifele for 40 minutes. And, as we talked about yesterday, we knew Scheifele not a possibility for tonight as he didn't even travel with the team to St. Louis. But some pretty amazing news this morning that Nikolai Ehlers was out of the non-contact jersey, skating with Adam Lowry and Cole Perfetti in line rushes, and is what is being referred to as a game-time decision tonight for game number 6. What a boost that would be to the Winnipeg Jets if they were able to get the Danish star back into the lineup for game number 6. The road team still looking for their first win of the series. And as we've talked about for, certainly all week since the Blues were able to win game 3 and 4, the reverse 2019 series very much on the table right now. And in that one, the road team won the first 5 games and then the home team won. It has been a complete flip of 2019 with the home team winning the first 5 games. Maybe the road team can finish the job tonight and have the Jets avoid a game 7 at home on Sunday night and head right over to round 2 to host either Colorado or Dallas, who are going to be going at it tomorrow in game 7 in the Lone Star State after Colorado's big win last night. We've got a big show, and shout out to our pal Mike McIntyre, who is in St. Louis. He's going to join us in about 20, 25 minutes after we hear from Coach Scott Arniel for the latest from the Lou. Brandon Rewucki is going to jump on. We'll also get the Blues side of things with Alex Ferrario. And then we'll step away for a few minutes from hockey to get ready for live racing season, but mostly the Kentucky Derby with their annual visit before the Run for the Roses with Kirt Contois from ASD. And of course, we will then do a marble race kicking off the weekend. And then it's straight to your battle stations for game 6 tonight for the Jets and Blues. Listen, welcome to everybody in chat. This is going to be a big one today, I feel. Hit that thumbs up. If you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. And listen, turn on notifications because one thing that I'll mention, we will not be doing the Game 7 marble race for our Cool Bet contest today because hopefully Game 7 doesn't happen. If it does, we will do a special stream tomorrow. I'm sure kick around some thoughts from Game 6. But execute that contest. But again, the plan is to have the day off tomorrow and be looking ahead to game 2 if the Jets can get this win. So again, go to the playoffs in the Peg post for at the Winnipeg Sports Talk X or Instagram. Make sure you are signed up. Make sure if you are, have a Cool Bet account, you put your username as well there for an extra ballot. And as I say, if there is a game 7, we'll execute that tomorrow on the YouTube channel, and somebody will be going to the game. Otherwise, we move on to next week with more details on how you might be able to be a guest of WST and CoolBet if there are round 2 games, which we all are hoping that they will be. A huge thanks to all of our sponsors, including our great partners at CoolBet, Princess Auto, KFC, Prairie Toyota Dealers, Ben Moss, St. Vital Dental Center and Rolly's Transfer, Canadian Club, Manitoba Battery, Let's Do It Travel, F Apparel, Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge, Royal Sports, Boston Pizza, Little Brown Jug, The Gold Eyes, Assiniboia Downs, Breezy Bend. We'll get to a Why Not question of the day today for Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray. And of course, fan feedback. Some excited fan feedback, I'd imagine, for fansfirst.ca. Welcome everybody in chat, and welcome to you, Michael Remis. A very eventful morning. I thought the news that Brayden Yager was going to be called up to be a Black Ace would be something we'd be talking about. But let's face it, the story around this series, outside of the absence of Mark Scheifele, is now the possibility of Nikolai Ehlers being in the Game 6 lineup.
Yeah, woke up, not woke up, but got the alert on my phone at 9 a.m. Jets PR putting out that they recalled Brayden Yager. I'm like, oh, well, is he going to be the guy to step in? What's going on here? But Dave Manuka of Illegal Curve showing that he was skating in Winnipeg with the taxi squad. And then I went about my day and saw, oh, Nikolai Ehlers in a regular jersey. Interesting. I remember Velarde when he got a regular jersey on. He skated, lower in the lineup. No, Nikolai Ehlers skating with Adam Lowry and Cole Perfetti on line 2. Oh, I was muted. Oh, man. The biggest show of the year. That's so bad. I don't know why that even happened.
There's a lot going on.
I was going to town. I had all the good takes.
He was going to town, folks.
I don't know what I did there.
Listen, well,
there's no reason for that.
Figure it out. Now, are you guys hearing me, folks?
Yeah, you're in.
That is interesting. All right, yes. What did Remis say? Remis was just coming with some
I had all
heat,
the best takes.
Some absolute heat.
I'll start again. I woke up this morning to the Brayden Yager news at 9 a.m. Well, I didn't wake up, but I saw the alert on my phone saying Brayden Yager called up. That's interesting. Could he be the one to step in Mark Scheifele's absence? But no, Dave Manuka of Illegal Curve showed that he's at Iceplex with the rest of the Black Aces here in Winnipeg. Hockey for All Center. Skating. And then you saw Nikolai Ehlers in a regular jersey at practice. Wow, that is very intriguing. But, Gabe Velarde, when he got the regular jersey on, he skated on, the 4th, 5th line for practice or two before coming into the lineup. But no, he's skating with Lowry and Perfetti. And what a boost that would be for the Winnipeg Jets to have Nikolai Ehlers back in the lineup and the speed that he brings and everything that he can do on the power play. Pretty impressive. And I do remember Nikolai Ehlers when he returned in Game 5 against Vegas a couple of years ago. He was nowhere near 100%. He gave it a go. And I don't know what he's going to be tonight, Huss, if he plays in terms of percentage. But I'm sure having him in the lineup would be a boost. And I don't think it's going to be like a Matthew Tkachuk situation where they play him and then realize, oh, no, this guy is not able to go.
Listen, if this is a regular season game or the Jets are in a different position, or maybe this is earlier in the series, or even if Mark Scheifele is able to go, maybe they don't go down this route. But listen, desperate times call for desperate measures. Ehlers is, he played, I can't remember what his issue was at the end of that Vegas series, but he did come in for Game 5 against Vegas.
I think you have broken ribs from Ryan Hartman. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. It was broken ribs from Ryan Hartman. And Ryan Hartman played in the playoffs. Got 1-game suspension.
Yeah, well, listen, let's not even go down that road.
We don't need to, but that's why.
Yeah, we did take some of the takes about the Shen hit and throw it up on Twitter. I can assure you I am not a popular person amongst St. Louis Blues TikTok fans right now. But that's fine. That's fine. We take care of our own here. We knew that was a joke, and we'll go for it. By the way, the chat, the chat is hilarious. Brett Anderson, Remis is such a legend. Run it back, Remo. D. Chalice, Groundhog Day, and Ishaboy Bruce. The buffet is full. Go back for another plate. Yeah, Jeno Tom. It's okay, Remo. You went to the buffet without a plate. Hey, listen, much like the start of Game 5, couple rocky moments, but you are going to see a championship effort from everyone at Winnipeg Sports Talk the rest of this show today, and certainly tonight, watching Game 6. And then afterwards, don't forget, Connor and Reem will fire up post-game coverage on the channel. So when you're finished with IC and KNR, you can check that out on the YouTube channel, or when you get up tomorrow morning, it'll be waiting for you as well. So listen, Remus, let's get to the lines, the way they were looking in the morning skate. And again, I caution everyone, they said they have not announced that, much like we kind of knew Gabriel Velarde was coming back for game number 5. Everybody playing coy. Ehlers is a game time decision, as we'll hear from Scott Arniel, but no Scheifele. Vlad Nemestikov coming off, the Vlad game as a Winnipeg Jet will be in between KFC and Gabe Velarde. And from the morning skate, pulling the Undertaker out of the coffin onto the line 2 with Adam Lowry and Cole Perfetti is Nikolai Ehlers. Morgan Barron slides in between Nino and Mason Appleton on line number 3. And it looks like Dominic Toninato is going to make his playoff debut with Alex Iafallo on the right side and Brandon Tanev on the left side. Presumably, if something happens with Ehlers and he's not able to go, Iafallo will be back in that spot, and either Gus or Kupari or Jad will be able to, probably most likely Anderson Dolan being in that spot. But let's face it, this was incredibly welcome news for Winnipeg Jet fans that Nikolai Ehlers, a guy that will completely change the offensive potential of that line that he's on, not to mention soften the blow of a power play without one of its catalysts in Mark Scheifele. And listen, and we're going to get to this a little later on, Reem. It's kind of funny how this is going to take away much of the conversation that I had started yesterday, fully expecting and knowing the Winnipeg Jets would need their best player, number 37, Connor Hellebuyck, to be at his MVP level tonight on the road in St. Louis to try to get this road win. But tell you what, it's very welcome news, and I can tell you that the spirits in the chat already were pretty hype coming out of Game 5, but this Ehlers news has people very fired up, and justifiably so.
Yeah, I think we've all forgot about, well, not necessarily the Mark Scheifele injury. We moved on to the new hot topic here on Winnipeg Sports Talk, Ehlers return. Check out our Instagram reel here for Hustler's take from yesterday, but we'll see what happens with the Ehlers. It would be a big boost, but I agree. The player who needs to step up and show why he was nominated for the Hart Trophy earlier this week, Connor Hellebuyck. You've seen some rough goals from him, the second one yesterday, the misplay on the puck in Game 3. It's just uncharacteristic stuff, and he has made some big saves this series, no doubt, on Kyrou, on Parayko, and end of the first period in Game 5. So that he's certainly capable of it. Just has to put it together for a full 60, and the Jets believe in him. He is their guy, and Scott Arniel says 100% confidence after the 2 rough games in St. Louis. And I'm curious, how are the Jets going to respond in St. Louis? They took off yesterday, just after noon. But just interestingly enough, the St. Louis Blues had some plane problems, and they stayed over in Winnipeg after Game 5 and didn't land in St. Louis yesterday until 9 p.m. I don't know if that is going to affect them at all, but it is certainly interesting to note in terms of the team's travel schedule as we pay attention to every little detail in the Stanley Cup playoff.
Yeah, you know it. All right, listen, we're going to get to Arnie in just a minute. We'll head to St. Louis for both Mike McIntyre and Alex Ferrario, and Brandon Rewucki's coming up before we hit the Derby prior to marbles and the cool bet lines for tonight's game. Hey, I got to give a shout out to our pal Donnie over at Manitoba Battery. I had a great chat with him earlier, and he said, hey, Huss, you know what? Let people know. This is the, maybe this is taking a piece from Ken Weeb's book, but it's a wake-up call. A wake-up Winnipeg. It's time to stop overpaying for batteries and get to Manitoba Battery for all your battery needs. Tell your friends, your family, your neighbors that there's only one place to get a great price and great quality for the batteries you need. You can save $50 a battery this spring by driving by the big box stores on batteries you need for your campers and boats. It is that simple. You'll get better service, great quality, and save a ton of money by shopping at Manitoba Battery, the only battery specialist in Winnipeg to offer you 2 convenient locations to shop. Of course, the original spot on Logan Avenue and the new one for all you people in the South End on Dovercourt Drive. You can learn more at manitobabattery.com or give them a call at 204-783-8787. And don't forget, while you're shopping local, saving a lot of money, you can also take advantage of free delivery anywhere inside the perimeter with any purchase over $60. It is just that easy. Hey, if you're on the move, you and your family coming up over the next few months, give a holler to our friends at Rolly's Transfer, family owned and operated for over 60 years and the most trusted name in moving in Winnipeg. If you want the white glove service from Rolly's to take care of everything you've got at a great price going from point A to point B, head on over to their website, click on request an estimate, put in that promo code WST for a special discount, and then let them know when and where you're planning on moving and what needs to move. And the friendly staff at Rolly's will give you a great quote and get you locked in for the best service in the moving game in Winnipeg. For all your moving needs, make it Rolly's Transfer. Find out more, request an estimate today over at Rollies.com. How about this weekend that's shaping up? 27 and sunny on Sunday. Let's hope that there's no hockey game that night, which would mean Jets win this evening, and we can kick back, look ahead to round 2, and enjoy some of the brand new Canadian Club ready-to-drink coolers that have just launched right now. If you're popping by your Manitoba Liquor Marts, make sure to check out Canada's iconic original Canadian whiskey, Canadian Club. But you could also take a look at the new release of the ready-to-drink coolers in the Club Pack, which has the iconic CC and Ginger Ale, the new Canadian Club Citrus Smash, and the Canadian Club Half and Half with Canadian whiskey, along with iced tea and lemonade. All on sale all the month of May at your local Manitoba Liquor Marts for under $28 a 12-pack. A great deal and a great beverage, and we've got great weather for these right now. And hey, I got a shout out and a big happy birthday to Dr. Terry over at St. Vital Dental Center. It was great to hear from him yesterday. Had some more WSTers pop by and get their grill worked on as they needed. Of course, St. Vital Dental Center is a full-service dental clinic that has been serving generations of Manitobans from the ages of 6 months all the way to 99 plus. We've got a beautiful new location at 167 St. Anne's with free parking in the back and the full complement of dental services, from cleanings and checkups all the way to things like dental implants, and an amazing smiling team waiting to serve you. For all your dental needs, make it St. Vital Dental Center. Check them out online and make an appointment at stvitaldental.ca. All right, Mike's going to join us in just a few minutes, but let's hear from Scott Arniel. And no surprise that when 27 was out there doing line rushes, it started off with, was that Nikolai Ehlers out there? Here's Arnie on Ehlers being a game-time decision.
What's Nikolai Ehlers' status for Game 6?
Game-time decision. He got that jersey changed, so he's a game-time decision.
If he does play with Lowry and Perfetti, what would he bring to that line?
Speed.
What would Lowry bring to that line playing with two skilled players?
You know what, obviously everybody's got to get bumped up here. With Scheif being out of here, everybody got bumped up the other night. Had to bring another center in. Obviously, Tony's coming in. So everybody's, everybody's like we've done and we talked about in the past. Your roles change a little bit, I got a lot of faith in that. Bear will step in with that line with Apple and Nino. So it's just again, it was like we did the other night. It's different roles and responsibilities sometimes, but you still got to be the player that you are and keep doing what you have to do.
All right, Reem. It's one thing to read the transcripts. It's another thing to see the big grin on Scott Arniel's face when he was asked by Murat about what Nikolai Ehlers might do to the lineup for tonight.
Oh, okay. Wait. Should we pull it up again and take a look here?
Yeah.
Okay. Wait. Let me grab this part. He does look pretty happy. Even looking at on.
Spirits are high. Listen, I think this team is so excited about what's the opportunity is. Okay, here we go. Slow-mo. We're breaking down. He's playing. He's got to be playing.
Perfetti, what would he bring to that line?
Oh, he can't even look at him in the eye when he's asking the question. He's just looking down and smiling. This is the look right here. He's in, right?
Yeah, well, listen, we're not guaranteeing or confirming anything, but we can all make our own deductions. And Ehlers was out there. They have tweaked the lines. They've brought Toninato in and listen, I know there's some talk about Gus and Rasmus Kupari. They're not going to lose anything from their style of play with Toninato. I mean, a veteran player that has been in these spots before, has played with them before in the playoffs. And I think will actually be a good complement for what they're looking for from that fourth line, if in fact Ehlers is in. And then, of course, you got Tanev and Iafallo on that line. Even with the absence of Mark Scheifele, which is a huge, huge loss, man, the lineup looks a heck of a lot different if Nikolai Ehlers is penciled in for it. Arniel talked about mixing up the lines and being confident that they'll find an identity with the new look if these changes come to pass tonight.
Yeah, we've had to do it all year, and so it isn't something like we've been able to roll perfectly through an 82-game schedule. The guys have been asked to take on these bigger roles, like I mentioned, and you know what? That's professional hockey players. They want to be challenged, and if they get that opportunity, they want to take advantage of it. And that's what I like best is that guys have, jumped into roles and succeeded, and that's what you hope that when those times come, that's what they do.
All right, and you know what? Coming back, this is actually more back off of the first answer, Reem, but you can see I think there's a huge amount of pride in that room that we saw on display in that hockey game on Wednesday night. Facing down some of the playoff demons, bouncing back the way they did from game 3 and 4, but doing it in the fashion that they did without their most important offensive player, and how everyone had a role in it. And listen, who knows what's going to happen tonight if they have to play on Sunday, whether we're talking about a second round. But I will say this, if we end up in a scenario where we're talking about a playoff run that continues into round 2 and maybe beyond, I think we will look back at the game on Wednesday as, one of those pivotal moments and tests that this team passed this time that they had failed in the past that can only help tonight, but also down the road if they're fortunate enough to continue. Here is Scott Arniel on Dominic Toninato coming in on why Tony gets the call tonight if need be.
He's got some experience in the playoffs. He's got some grit to him. He's good on face-offs, that type of thing. It just kind of a little bit of just kind of on looking at that line now. It just kind of gives him some identity. He played games for us this year. He's played in the past, and just like a lot of what he brings.
Is that line's role sort of to create chaos in the best way?
In the best way, yeah. Yeah. Right, it's about energy, right? We're going to need 4 lines, so we need everybody, and we're going to need it tonight. They run their 4, and we need to run our 4.
Man, we certainly have seen many different sides of Arniel in the last 48 hours. From being, nuclear hot on the bench in Game 5 with what happened to Mark Scheifele, with being calmly livid after the game in the back and forth with Jim Montgomery, with being focused yesterday and now seeming to be feeling pretty darn good, big smiles, and ready for this opportunity and this challenge that awaits his team tonight. And in the meantime, now I don't think that he's focused on this at all. I'll guarantee he's not. But Remo, a very nice announcement today that Scott Arniel is a finalist for the Jack Adams Trophy as Coach of the Year in the NHL. A very deserved nomination, one that I wasn't sure he was going to get, though, to be honest, with the competition from around the league.
Yeah, the awards announcements coming out. They're going through them. We saw Connor Hellebuck earlier this week for the Hart Trophy. And, yeah, Scott Arniel along with Spencer Carberry of the Capitals and Martin St. Louis of the Canadiens as Jack Adams Award finalist. So congratulations to him. And I think Carberry might be his to lose with Washington, barely making the playoffs last year and being first this year. But I mean, the Winnipeg Jets have had an exceptional season. Their power play, was the number 1 in the NHL, and just an incredible accomplishment. Congratulations to Coach Arniel and the organization on the award nomination. Nice to see the voters were able to recognize, coaching that he was certainly deserving. Yeah,
you know what? It's at a certain point you force them to, and that's what the Jets did this year. They forced people to recognize and respect this team throughout the regular season. And they're on the verge of doing the exact same thing in the playoffs. Given other options, I'm not sure that Connor Hellebuck is a Hart Trophy candidate. But when you put up a historic season the way that he did, it doesn't give you any choice. And I mean, this team that won the Jennings Trophy, they were the number 1 team overall. Damn right Scott Arniel deserves a nomination for the Jack Adams Trophy. There he is, along with Spencer Carberry. Amazing season for him. And, of course, a great story in the Montreal Canadiens in Marty St. Louis. Arnie was asked about that Jack Adams nomination this morning as well. Here's what he had to say on that.
Yeah, it's a tremendous honor, and I'm real appreciative of it. But, for me, it's Marty, Davis, Dean, Flats, James and then Matty as well. Like our coaching staff is, we come in and obviously had a mindset starting in training camp and an idea, and and then the players buying in it. Obviously, you don't have success unless the players do what they did, and I'm appreciative of. And like you mentioned, though, it's some other bigger prizes that we're after right now.
There's an appreciative Scott Arniel doling out a lot of credit for that to the rest of his staff and, of course, the team. And much like, Game 5 and tonight, it's going to take everybody to get the job done, but a very deserving award. Mike, who's going to join us in a couple minutes, did follow up with the coach on Ehlers needing to be cleared. Here's what he had to say on that.
Recognizing that the medical staff makes the final call, has he been knocking on your door a lot over this past week?
It's been it arrived a lot quicker than we thought. Didn't know it was going to be this quick, but again, we'll see. You got to get through here, see how he is, but he's looking good, and he's pretty comfortable, so we'll see where we go.
All right, Mike McIntyre will join us in just a few minutes to get fired up for Game 6 and see what he saw in the morning skate today and the vibe around the team heading into Game 6 tonight. One more from Scott Arniel, and this is pretty simple. I mean, they've got an opportunity to end this series tonight and be the first team in the Central Division to move on into round 2 because, of course, Dallas and Colorado will go at it in a winner-take-all Game 7 tomorrow night in Dallas. Arnie was asked about his message to his players going into Game 6 tonight in the Lou.
Focus on what we have to do that first period, like we did the other night. We got everybody's best, and that's what it's going to take. We know what's happened in this building. They're going to come hard, and they're not going to lay over. For us, there isn't one thing yet. I mean, we'll talk a little bit more tonight, but again, we went out and we defended well, did a lot better job defending, played faster. So those kind of harping on those things again.
You were talking about, and your players talked about the amount of homework you guys got to do between Game 4 and 5. Less turnaround this time. Does that prove a challenge in that same regard?
No, I think this one now, it's just up and run and go. Like, it's just take advantage of what we build off of what we did last game. And now it's tough to tinker anymore, but I think both teams, it's probably now you know what you want to do. And you both had success doing what you do. So now it's just a case of getting out there and being even better at it. Continue to be strong in a lot of the areas that we've improved in, and just go get those 2 points.
All right, there's the coach with this message to the players. Get 2 points, get 1 win, and move on to round 2 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Mike is locked and loaded to join us on WST, and this segment is brought to you by your Prairie Toyota dealers, who want to remind you to get in and go with the Toyota Tundra. Quality that means it has the strength to take on any challenge, off-road, or hauling a heavy load. And the Tundra is backed by the peace of mind knowing it's a Toyota. So take the road less traveled in comfort, room for teammates, friends, and gear in one of the best-looking rides around. Anywhere it goes, the Toyota Tundra is turning heads. Available from $154 weekly for 60 months at 5.19% APR with $66.99 down. Hybrid also available. Visit shoptoyota.ca. And as we bring in Mike McIntyre, who is coming up big with one of the great backdrops, this in some ways will be the Mike McIntyre press conference with Winnipeg Sports Talk as he joins us from Enterprise Center in St. Louis. Mike, welcome to the program. It is great to have you on, and thanks so much for making some time for us and the people of Winnipeg today.
I think I could steal this. Whoa, we got some full audio here in the press room. Maybe I'll slide this mic to the side. We don't need to have the whole arena hearing my words here. But I was going to steal the mic flash. Maybe steal the mic flash on my way out of the building tonight. This is the coach's room. This is where normally they do the post-game newsers. Where Jim Montgomery cracked a great one-liner. I don't know if you saw this. It actually wasn't on camera. It was right after the cameras had stopped rolling. And Jim Montgomery of the Blues, I had asked him about the Blues having their plane issues in Winnipeg. For people that don't know, the Blues plane broke down yesterday morning in Winnipeg. They stayed overnight after Game 5, and the plan was to fly home at 11 a.m. yesterday morning. Well, the plane had other ideas, and they ended up spending 8 extra hours in Winnipeg till 7 p.m. last night while they scrambled to find another plane. So I had asked the Blues coach, how did your team spend an unexpected full off day in Winnipeg? And he said, some guys watched Netflix, some guys played cards, some guys napped. And then as Montgomery was leaving the press room, he said that he spent the day in the OR, the operating room. That was a cheeky dig at Scott Arniel, who, of course, questioned where Jim Montgomery's medical degree had come from. So for him to say that he spent yesterday in the OR was just absolutely gold. He had the room howling. This series,
it's pretty good. I got to give him credit for that.
It's been a lot. This series has been a total blast on the ice. It's been pretty fun off it as well. Lots of emotion, momentum swings, and plot twists. And I'd say we have a couple doozies tonight. I know the question you want to ask me about the unexpected return of a most unexpected player and the huge impact he can have on the lineup tonight for the Jets. Yes, Dominic Toninato is in.
You know what? It's going to be hilarious. We're going to play this back when Toninato scores the winner on Monday. And listen, Toninato is very capable. We just heard from Arniel talk about, moving him into that spot, potentially with Brandon Tanev and Alex Iafallo, who spent the last month on the top line. But let's take us to the morning skate. What was the buzz like when 27 was out there and all of a sudden you guys realized, wait a second, the second line is Perfetti, Lowry, and Nikolai Ehlers?
It's funny. The Jets had to wait a while for the Zamboni and stuff to finish up, and all the players were crowded on the bench, and it was notable how there was a lot of laughter, a lot of chatter, some hooting and hollering. It was pretty clear the players were in a great mood, and when you see, and part of me was thinking well, that's a good sign. They just lost Mark Scheifele last game. He's not even here in St. Louis. Pretty encouraging to see that, that they clearly have a good mindset. Well, then when you see Nikolai Ehlers, not just shedding the yellow jersey, but then a full participant in line rushes, it's okay, well, that might explain why there was a little extra giddy up, a little extra joy in their levels today. It was a surprise because, look, we get used to kind of seeing the progression of, a guy that's not skating to then skating on his own, independent of the team, to then joining the team, but in yellow, and then eventually getting rid of that yellow. And usually there's still several days of getting up to speed with the team. And so I think we thought that even if the yellow was gone today, that when it came time to do line rushes, he would not be part of them. But there he was. And could this be the ultimate, decoy gamesmanship by Scott Arniel? I guess.
I didn't think so when we saw that grin when he was asked by you guys about the potential of Ehlers being in the lineup.
I agree. And you didn't play the Lowry clips yet, I guess, Huss?
No, we'll do that later on.
Okay, so Adam Lowry's comments really had me thinking, and we spoke to Lowry before Scott Arniel, and so I came away after talking to Adam Lowry thinking, oh yeah, for sure Ehlers is in tonight. The way Lowry was talking, and he couched it a few times saying, well, if he's in, but just there was kind of almost a certainty, and also again a lot of excitement about what Ehlers could bring. So I'd love to know kind of the medical story behind all this. One thing Lowry said to me is our medical staff is not clearing a guy just because a guy is in their ear saying, put me in.
What about Montgomery?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, so the medical staff's not clearing a guy. This isn't a panic move, or now is it well timed? Yeah, you couldn't time this any better. And just what a turn of events, Huss, from just a few days ago. Who would have thought that we'd be talking about a series that all of a sudden had Vilardi and Ehlers in it, but not Scheifele? This just shows how quickly things can change. One thing we know about Nikolai Ehlers, and people will rag on Ehlers a bit because he does go down a lot and looks like he gets hurt a lot. Nikolai Ehlers is one tough customer. We know that, and he's also had a really tough history when it comes to playoffs. But we also know that he will be the biggest advocate for himself, for getting in the lineup, for what he's willing and able to play through. So that's why I asked Arniel if he's been kind of pounding on the door. And then Arniel said, well, actually, this came quicker than we thought it would. So, we don't know exactly what the injury is. We may not know until the playoffs are over. I don't imagine Nikolai Ehlers wasn't made available today to speak to the media. I think the team wants to make sure that he gets in the lineup before they kind of put him in front of the cameras to say anything. But even when he does speak, if it's after the game tonight, I don't know if he'll tell us what his injury is. We have to wait till exit day for that. But whatever it is, this is a guy that was seen in a walking boot not very long ago that only, from everything we know, Huss, just got back on skates within the past week. It was only while the Jets were on the road for 3 and 4. So to go from kind of just resuming skating to back in the lineup in basically a week's time is pretty remarkable stuff. And I'll say this, watching Ehlers skate earlier in the week by himself, then in yellow with the team, and then again today, like he's been flying. And considering his injury is something to do with his leg or ankle or foot or knee, something in his lower body, like to see him moving as well as he has been a real pleasant surprise, obviously.
Well, I mean, you mentioned the timing of this that could not be any better. And listen, it's welcome, and you kind of, I mean, I could feel it from, the dispatches from you and the rest of the media that were there. You certainly felt it when we just heard from Coach Scott Arniel about the boost that, that he'll bring, and, it changes the look of the lineup. I mean, it'll help the power play, which is going to really need it without Scheifele in there.
Yeah.
And I think, significantly boost the offensive firepower of that second line. But I got to tell you, Mike, I think that this confidence and good feeling would have been there anyways because of the way they performed in game number 5, with incredible adversity thrown at them in a couple of different ways.
Yeah.
Being down their most important offensive player and doing what they did to the St. Louis Blues in the crucial game 5 to put them a 1 win away. I mean, looking back at that game right now, I mean, obviously it's all about game 6, but to me, that was a seminal win for this team. They needed it in so many different ways, and the way they did it can only be something that gives them a hell of a lot more belief in themselves to have a different result at Enterprise tonight than they did in games 3 and 4.
And that's where we may look back and say what transpired after that Jimmy Snuggerud stinker. And let's be clear, that was not a very good goal that Connor Hellebuck gave up.
That's the worst of the playoffs, and that's not him at all. No. You'd have to go through the entire year, maybe to find one, of a similar odor.
So you talk about seminal moments. I mean, the Jets at that point, that was early in the second, so they'd already lost their best center in Mark Scheifele, and they knew he wasn't coming back. The team hadn't released that publicly, but all the players knew. We found out after, they all knew during the first intermission that he was done. So they lost their best offensive player. They just lost the lead for a second time that night, and this time in a most deflating way on a terrible goal. That could have gone very wrong very fast. And for the Jets to dig deep, to get those 2 big goals before the second intermission, that was just enormous. And maybe in a way unexpected to some. Not unexpected, I suspect, though, if you've been following this team kind of throughout the course of the season and seen the ways they do respond to adversity. But, it started to look like everything that could go wrong was going to go wrong. And for them to, find a way and who it was that stepped up, that, the irony, if you will, that it's Vlad Nemestikov, the guy that hadn't scored in 20 games, the guy that they hadn't upgraded on the second line center position. And now all of a sudden, Huss, forget about second line center. He's your first line center. And he comes up with the game. Like it's the stuff of movie scripts, really, that it would be him of all people that would, score what turned out to be the game winner. He had an assist as well. But it's not just him. The list is a long one of guys that a real gut check. And we had talked before the game, is this the most crucial or pivotal game in franchise history? I don't know if that's what that was, but it certainly felt like one of the most important victories in Jets history. I think that Game 7 in Nashville will always be at the top of the list for me until maybe we get further into a playoff run and the victories start to get even bigger. But I don't know, Game 5, after 2 straight blowout losses on the road, and all the noise and the ghosts and the demons and the injury and the adversity, like that could have really turned ugly. And instead, the Jets kind of grabbed the wheel, got the vehicle back on the road, and now they're 1 win away as they hit the road. I think this is a team that is feeling pretty good about itself, and they should.
Mike, the team, certainly according to what we've seen in the morning skates, going to look different. But many of the guys that stepped up in such a big way will have an opportunity for elevated roles and more important ice time, and the chance to make a difference. And we have talked all year. This isn't the Edmonton Oilers with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. It is not the Colorado Avalanche with Cale Makar and Nathan McKinnon. They have been truly greater than the sum of their parts so far this season. Game 5 might have been the best example of all of that. And while Ehlers is the story right now, I can't not keep coming back to the feeling that Connor Hellebuyck, who is nominated for the Hart Trophy as the MVP of the National Hockey League this year, comes in tonight, puts his best foot forward, and not necessarily puts his team on his back, but delivers that Vezina Trophy-worthy performance that helps the Jets get past a hell of a good hockey team in the St. Louis Blues.
I was saying the exact same thing to a few other writers and broadcasters this morning, that if you're the Jets and you're sitting here with a 3-2 series lead, and that's in spite of the fact that your most important player has not been great. He's been somewhere between, at times, below average to slightly above average. I mean, he's done some great things. Obviously, that save on Sundqvist the other night in the first period was one of the greatest saves that he's ever made in his career. And at the time, it kept the Jets from falling into a deficit, which in hindsight too, Huss, he would go on to let in that Snuggerud goal, but the fact that at no point did they trail in that game, maybe on a psychological level, was big. But you're right, you're bang on that we have not seen a Connor Hellebuyck statement game in a season that we saw so many of them. And this is not a situation where the Jets are going to just stink the joint out and hope that their goaltender can steal them a victory. If you could get the Jets playing the type of game that we know they're capable of playing, that they just played in Game 5, but combine that with their goaltender at the top of his game, that's a lethal 1-2 sort of combo. And I think that's, if you're the Jets and if you're a Jets fan, that's what you're hoping to see. That you could make the argument, Huss, that Connor Hellebuyck is long overdue for a Connor Hellebuyck type game. And tonight, with the chance to move on to the second round, would be the perfect opportunity.
No doubt about that. Mike, thanks so much for taking the time to jump on with us today. We'll look forward to catching up after the weekend, and I hope you enjoy a great, quiet, sunny, 27-degree, sunny Sunday with your family and no work until next week. That will be the case if the Jets can win tonight. Have a great one and travel safely.
I would love to be on a golf course as well Sunday. So yes, fingers crossed for that. Enjoy the game.
Okay, take care. There's Mike McIntyre of the Winnipeg Free Press. We're going to bring in Brandon Rewucki in just a minute. But let me shout out our pal Sean at Let's Do It Travel. Folks, whether you're whether you're planning, at some point in the future, a dream sports trip with the boys, making your plans for that amazing all-inclusive next year during the winter on your valuable vacation time, or maybe, just maybe, planning to tie the knot with a dream destination wedding, Sean and Let's Do It Travel can help you make the best choices to maximize your time away from home and stretch your dollar further. Make the most that you're getting. You get the most out of your vacation and your travel dollar with Let's Do It Travel. Give them a follow on Instagram at Let's Do It Travel WPG, or check them out online at letsdoittravel.com. And here's the kicker: Sean and Let's Do It Travel waiving their booking fees for WST listeners. Just let them know that we sent you. You've got a buddy in the travel business with Let's Do It Travel. Get in touch today. letsdoittravel.com, at Let's Do It Travel WPG on Instagram. Hey, if you haven't already, head down to Princess Auto to pick up those Whiteout Mania signs. What are you waiting for? Of course, Princess Auto, proud sponsor of WST and the Winnipeg Jets, and the Whiteout Mania promo presented by Princess Auto. with the free signs for anyone that wants to come in and pick one up at one of the 3 Princess Auto locations. And of course, the opportunity to win playoff tickets to Canada Life Center with your submissions to winnipegjets.com/whiteoutmania. And hey, we're into May. The Bombers are going to be back soon. It won't be long before we're getting together at Princess Auto Stadium cheer on the blue and gold as well. Huge thanks to Princess Auto. 3 locations, Panet Road, Portage Avenue West. Brandon, shop online 24/7, 365 over at princessauto.com. Well, we hope that the boys are going to be playing well into the next month or two, which means we might have to wait a little time to get on the water. But when it is time to get fishing, there is no better place than Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge, a true jewel of Manitoba. A fly-in fishing lodge where you can be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg, with world-class fishing and even more world-class hospitality from the Terrence family and the Aikens team. Find out more on the 2025 fishing season today at aikenslake.com and give them a follow on all their socials at Aikens Lake. And I got to shout out the fellas at F Apparel. They're busy right now with all the hype around downtown Winnipeg at 190 Smith Street, and of course, wedding season and grad season coming up. Your number one spot for custom men's clothing, including custom suits, chinos, golf pants, custom shirts, and the best selection of menswear accessories. 2 great promos going on right now. If you've got a 2025 grad, get him in there for a new suit. You'll get a custom shirt and tie for free, and great deals right now as you plan for those weddings. Great discount for wedding parties when they get their suits at F Apparel. See them in store, 190 Smith Street downtown, or check them out online, that's EPHapparel.com, for more information on their latest promos and to book an appointment for a fitting. All right, quick note. We had to hook up with Brandon earlier today because he had something going on with his kids this afternoon. And as we were speaking, we had not got the news of Nikolai Ehlers potentially being a possibility for the Winnipeg Jets. So just know that, but we get into much more with Brandon right now ahead of Game 6 tonight on Winnipeg Sports Talk. This segment is brought to you by Ben Moss. Ben Moss is proudly Canadian-owned and operated with history dating back more than 100 years. And Ben Moss has 3 locations to serve you in Winnipeg: Polo Park Shopping Center, St. Vital Center, and Kildonan Place. Committed to customer satisfaction, check out a large selection of Canadian mined diamonds, lab-grown diamonds, and mined diamonds available with payment plans to suit your need. For more information, check out benmoss.com. Ben Moss, because love is timeless. Rewucki's back. Brandon Rewucki, host of Skates and Plates, joins us now on WST. How are you feeling going into tonight?
How are we feeling? We're doing good. I mean, I got to be honest. The Game 5 8:30 p.m. start. That's a crime against humanity for anybody with small children. So I appreciate we're getting things done a little bit earlier this time, but it's going to be a bit of a beauty. I can't wait.
Well, I mean, listen. It really does put the Jets behind the 8 ball not having Mark Scheifele for this game tonight. You're already without Nikolai Ehlers. And I think that if you had told me that scenario earlier, I would be more freaked out. It's not going to be easy. They've got 2 chances to win a game potentially without those players. And this is a hell of a hockey team. St. Louis has won 14 straight at home. But I have to tell you, being in that building, the way that the team, to a man, rallied and stepped up in the second and third period of a game that meant so much, Brandon. I mean, we've talked a lot about statement games from this team, and if there was ever a time for one, Game 5 was it. And that might have been the most emphatic message. This team is not going to go away easily that we've seen at any point in this campaign.
Yeah, I mean, it's been their calling card all year, hasn't it? Where it's like, just when you think it's time to count them out, just when you think that they've gone to the well too many times, same lineup over and over again, it's not going to work, that's when they somehow flip the switch and deliver a big one. And I like that you mentioned the building there too, Huss, because I think the fans legitimately deserve a ton of credit for that. Like, the atmosphere was electric. And they didn't win the game for the Jets, but it is a bit of a... there's no doubt that they were feeding off the energy from the crowd in that game. And that was the performance that we had seen, I guess, 2 or 3 weeks ago against St. Louis when they were the hottest team in the NHL. They came into Winnipeg and the Jets just choked them out. Like they just could not generate anything. And there had been too many pockets, especially over games 3 and 4, where St. Louis was really controlling the pace of play and the territorial edge in those hockey games. But Winnipeg really flipped the script. And to do so, really, once Scheifele goes out, I mean, you want to talk about what your team's all about and what they're made out of. That's it right there, because you could very easily kind of fold and pack it in, and everybody understands losing your 1C. It's tough to win those hockey games. But they were full marks for that win. And in my opinion, Vladdy Nemesnikov's best game as a Winnipeg Jet happened just a couple nights ago.
I heard Elliot Friedman said it might have been the best game of his career. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I have a good enough knowledge of everything he did and all of his stops before Winnipeg, but it was a huge play. And, just your talk about the fans, I couldn't agree with you more. I don't know if you caught that clip of Kevin Hayes on Spit and Chicklets. We played it yesterday. And they were asking him about, what it was like playing in Winnipeg and the whiteout and the sort of fan base that, that is there, at the games. And, is this a group that's going to start getting disgruntled and getting all over the team after the first period? Or will they try to build them up? And Kevin Hayes said 100% they'll be building them up. And he took a swipe at the Leafs at the same point. So people kind of enjoyed that. But, listen, we've all heard it. And, I think I joke about the fatalists of the Jets doomsday cult who are always telling us that it's about to be over and, bad things are going to happen. And listen, there is that group in the fan base. But the people that were at that building, you heard it in the MVP chants for Connor Hellebuck coming out of disappointing games 3 and 4 for the guy that is the MVP of the Winnipeg Jets. And you heard it throughout the game. Every single person that ponied up to get a seat, to put the whites on, to be in that building on Wednesday night, did everything they could to be a part of helping the team move forward. And listen, the team absolutely responded. I don't want to spend too much time on the Scheifele hit from Braden Shen, just because, you got to figure out a way to get it done without him. But just quickly, were you surprised that there wasn't at least a hearing from NHL player safety on that? Or was this one of those ones that unfortunately ended up in a player getting hurt, but wasn't egregious enough to warrant a call?
Well, the good thing is Shen doesn't have any history of hits like this.
No, not at all.
Oh, wait, 3 of those? Oh, interesting. I'm surprised. I was surprised the amount of people that missed. To me, it wasn't even the interference. It was the launch, jumps into his... Not really his head, but whatever you want to call it, upper body, shoulder, neck. He jumps up into him. And that to me is the main, okay, is this a suspendable hit sort of a play? And it's funny, Huss, because I'll tell you what, if Scheifele stays down on the ice after that hit and he's helped to the locker room by the training staff, Braden Shen gets suspended at least 1 game. Because Mark Scheifele comes back, takes a couple other big hits and misses the game, we get the result that we see. The only difference. That's it. So
pays to go down.
Yeah, and you see that too with 5-minute majors, Huss, where guys will maybe if I just lay down a little bit for a while, whether they're hurt or not, right? But you kind of get my drift that this is the problem forever with the NHL Department of Player Safety is it's just so based on result. And that's why I think Monty post game was like, don't worry, everybody. It was that big Faxa hit that took him out, not our captain leaping 6 inches off the ice like he's going in for a layup against the Lakers. That definitely wasn't the hit that knocked him out of the game eventually there. So I'm surprised. I don't like those kinds of hits. To me, if you're caught leaving your feet on a hit, it should be a suspendable offense. The NHL, not to their credit, but you look at their history, they tend not to make those suspendable plays. So yeah, it sucks. It's a bad loss for the Jets, and I think they get screwed a little bit on that one. At the very least, I think it should have been a 5-minute major. And then you could talk about, is it a game on top of that? But there's only there's very few times hits like that happen, and the player comes away from those completely unscathed. It's so dangerous on the ice there when somebody at some level of speed launches 200 plus pounds, the 6 inches above your chest there. That's when scary, dangerous hits happen. And unfortunately, the Jets are behind the 8 ball now.
Well, and you know what's pissed me off the last couple of days? And listen, in these playoff series, I mean, listen, when the Jets lost 3 and 4, we had all the Blues fans in here having some fun. And listen, that's all part of it. But in the discourse online, we've seen all these people showing the Scheifele hit on Jake Evans. He got suspended 4 playoff games for that.
Yeah, and rightfully so.
As they say, it just, I know Remis and I talked about it yesterday, but it does sometimes seem like it is more convenient to make examples out of players here in Winnipeg. And I understand why some people think that the Jets haven't gotten or have received the short end of it so far. That being said, they got to find a way to win a hockey game without Mark Scheifele tonight. We'll find out if there is a Game 7. Hopefully there isn't. If there is, who is available to play. But Brandon, very simply, the home team has dominated all 5 games in this series. What can they do tonight to have a different result in St. Louis than they did in Games 3 and Game 4?
Well, you hate to put it all on one person, but let's face it, Huss.
It's time.
It's a heli game. Like that's what it is here. And I've made this point on Skates and Plates a bunch. So, if people listen and hop on here, they're like, oh, great, he's got one take on this. But look, when the Oilers need a win, Connor McDavid has all the pressure in the world on him, right? When Nikita Kucherov and the Lightning need something, they lean towards their guy. If Hellebuyck wants to be in the MVP conversation and in the conversation of not just the best players in the game, but the Mount Rushmore of active players in the NHL right now, these are games he has to step up and basically earn the 2 points on his own here. Like that's like, is it unfair? To a degree, but like that's the rarefied air that he wants to put himself in. So he, I think, more than anybody else, needs to deliver an all-time performance here, because we've seen what happens specifically in the first 20 minutes out there in St. Louis, where it's, let's hold on to our seats here and try to 0-0 is a pretty good result for us, and then we could try to take over as the game progresses. But he's just flat out, he's got to be better. He took, I think, baby steps in Game 5. There were some big saves. Still, the second goal is just inexcusable. That's been the big part of his specifically this playoff run, at least, where it's that one ugly goal against.
Yeah, it was 2 steps forward. There was 1 step back. But again, it was still progress. And at the end of it all, got the win, which, no one would have cared if it was 8-7 or whether it was 1-0. They had to find a way to win. But I'm with you. And, I'll say this, Brandon. Hellebuyck, watching what happened in front of him in that game, knowing that Scheifele was out, the way that the rank and file of the Winnipeg Jets stepped up and put it all on the line and played in that faction, that's inspiring to teammates. And I know he's a goaltender and the other guys are wearing leaders, but make no mistake about it, he truly is a leader on this team. And I think that he feels like this is not only a challenge, but an incredible opportunity to pay back some of the great play that his team has provided for him. But it's going to take everyone. You really can't say, hey, we're going to play like we did in Game 3 and 4, and this guy's just going to steal the game. I am interested in a couple areas of this hockey game tonight that have really been determining factors in who's won. We've talked a lot about the blue paint and who has been in front of the net, and the Blues owned it in Game 3 and 4. The Jets have owned it on their home ice. Can they get that done on the road? And the other thing that is maybe a less sexy thing to talk about, but it is just so important, especially with the way the Jets are constructed and the way they play when things are going well. Can they have the same success in the neutral zone in slowing the Blues down that they did in Game 5, something that was really missing in the 2 games in Missouri earlier in the series?
Yeah, and then St. Louis, they just couldn't generate anything through the middle of the ice. And it was difficult for them to dump the puck in, let alone get a controlled entry into the zone. And then the Jets did a good job there playing as a 5-man unit and, not allowing a heavy forecheck to take them down. So with you 100%. And this is, I don't know if you're familiar with the Patrick Ewing theory. But it's something that I guess it started back in the 90s where he missed a season due to injury, and the Knicks went on like kind of a magical run. And it's I think there's like legitimate scientific data to back this up, that sometimes when a star player or whatever it is goes down, the rest of the team actually does tend to find a way to rise up, knowing that they need to be at their A+ level game to have any chance of winning. I wonder, we saw that for sure in Game 5, periods 2 and 3. So it's not like they need to do this for a whole series right now. It's, can we do this for 60 minutes? And that should be enough to get us through into round 2, and then hopefully a quadruple OT game between the Stars in Colorado and Dallas in a couple days' time. So it's all there for them. And let's not forget too, despite the 2 blowouts in St. Louis, Game 4 was up for grabs for a large chunk of that hockey game. It kind of unraveled a little bit at the end of the second, and then
8 minutes in the end of the second period. I mean, that went from 1-1 to 4-1, and it was on to Game 5 at 2-2.
But even it was 4-2, like at times of this, like, you know, it ended up being a blowout and ugly. But the Jets did play a decent game for the first half of that Game 4. So like they can maybe point to that and be like, this isn't a hopeless cause. You know, we can come in here and steal one. But again, kind of circling back to the main point of this, Connor Hellebuyck isn't the first star of the game. The Jets are playing a Game 7 on Sunday night. So it's up to Hellebuyck to maybe rewrite the narratives here and stake his claim as, I'm not just a regular season wonder here. I can, when the chips are down, perform as the best of the best.
Well, the funny thing is, Brandon, I said all along, we talked about the Jets' revenge tour starting off with St. Louis and wanting things to go different as they did in 2019. They said on Monday, the complete reverse 2019 series is right there, where the road team won the first 5 games and then the home team finally won in game number 6. It has been the exact opposite in this series, where the home teams won the first 5. Time for the road team to get it done and just do the complete 180 of what happened to the Jets against the Blues in 2019.
Sign me up. And the rest of the revenge tour is still on the table. So if that's the route we want to take here, this is, you got to do step 1 before you get to the other 2.
Hey, you know, for guys that are going to be leaned on tonight, you can pretty much go down the entire roster. I mean, missing Mark Scheifele and Nikolai Ehlers means everyone needs to do more. You know, you mentioned Vlad Nemestikov with the game that he had. Kyle Connor was absolutely brilliant. The guy that I'm looking at tonight that I think has been really good in this series, that has had a bunch of opportunities that hasn't been able to bury yet, is Cole Perfetti. And what a time it would be for Cole to get on the scoreboard, because it's not like he has been not dangerous. It's not like he hasn't had the puck on his stick and some great scoring chances. Binnington's made some good saves. He's hit a post. I mean, there's a lot there, but I mean, a player like Perfetti in the absence of Scheifele, I would say has another great opportunity from his perspective, but a challenge too to step up and get on that score sheet and help his team win.
Yeah, he's the classic right now. If you don't watch the game and watch the score sheet, you don't really know what's going on out there. He's been right up there with the most impactful players for the Jets this series. It's just the production has eluded him, I think, unluckily at a lot of those occasions too, right? I mean, he had the chance in Game 5 where kind of flubs it, but it's like a rolling puck right in the perfect. He's getting zero help right now from the hockey gods, Huss. But I will say this, the hockey gods do have a funny way of inserting themselves into certain situations, and I'm not one for predictions normally, but I think Cole Perfetti is going to send the Winnipeg Jets into round 2 tonight. And maybe it happens after 60 minutes, but the kid has been playing too good to be held off the score sheet for any much longer here. And I think ultimately the chance after chance after chance, the dam does finally break tonight, and we see his first NHL playoff goal become a very memorable one for him and everybody else in the province.
I'm just pulling up CoolBet right now, and I can't help but notice a plus 345 for an anytime goal beside Mr. Perfetti tonight. And I think I'm going to be pot committed to get in on that. I've been thinking the same thing. I mean, first and foremost, it's going to start with a brilliant game from Connor Hellebuyck. It's time. We certainly know he has it in him. And we've seen, listen, we have seen some uncharacteristic goals go in on them. We've also seen a couple of incredible saves. But as I say, Perfetti, I think, is right at the top of the list for guys that are definitely going to need to do it. So you watched the game at home, or were you at the game on Wednesday?
No, at home, yeah.
So from a television perspective, did you get a good replay of that save? Like in real time, it looked almost impossible. It looked like it was a goal, and then all of a sudden it wasn't. And we didn't get one in the building. And even though I've seen like on Twitter, we were looking at the intermission, there wasn't a real clear view of that. But like we're talking about it with Ken yesterday. I mean, often I know we've talked before in the past joking about timely saves. Well, all saves are timely. I truly believe that if the Blues score shorthanded there and it's 2-1 after the way that they started, we're probably having a different conversation today. So, and that I think is something, not that Hellebuck needs any more confidence, but I think it's something you really can lean on. And then the way that he played, in especially the third period, when the Blues did generate the most of not that much offense throughout the game, where for the most part able to shut the door other than that late goal in the final minute when the team was up 3. We've talked a lot about the brilliance of Hellebuck all season long, and his play certainly in games 3 and 4 was a big story, even in game 1 to a lesser extent when the team won. But I don't think there's any questions who the Jets need to be their best player tonight. And this guy's risen to the occasion many times in the past. No better time than tonight. And not to get ahead of ourselves, but if that was the case, Brandon, I think it really bodes well for what is beyond this round if they can get through. If Hellebuck can kind of face his demons, much like I think the team as a whole did on Wednesday night in game number 5, get through it. At that point, it builds confidence, but also makes you a little freer. You're not dealing with the baggage. Kind of like what the Leafs will be doing, I think, in Florida. I think getting through that round the way that they did, having to hear it all over again, and then coming through with a win, I think it makes them a much more dangerous team moving forward.
I'm with you. It reminds me, too, of Vancouver finally slaying Chicago. What was it, like 10, 12 years ago? And they just kind of stormed their way
to 3-3.
So, it's sometimes the first round's the trickiest one to overcome, especially as a top seed, right? And so if you could avoid the upset, if you will, could be a springboard into bigger and better things. So, that's the way I'm going to look at it from Winnipeg's perspective here. But, it's not done and dusted just yet. And this is their stiffest test so far. We know what St. Louis does in those early game barrages, and it's just, fair or unfair, it's going to be on Hellebuck to try to send that first intermission with the Winnipeg Jets either all square or up a goal, ideally. But that's going to be the big mountain to climb, I think, is just avoiding getting buried by that Blues avalanche in the first 10, 15 minutes.
Hey, listen, not that we're even thinking about round 2 at this point with the work left to be done for the Winnipeg Jets, but I did want to ask you just thoughts on Colorado-Dallas. We're getting to game 7. It'll be tomorrow night, just one game on the schedule. You kind of thought that this one was almost destined to go 7, although the way the Stars went into the series, it didn't seem that way. And even through the first 4 games, it seemed like it was almost a miracle that they were tied. And yet here we are going back to Dallas in a winner moves on, a loser makes tea times.
Yeah, but I felt somewhat vindicated being one of the lone voices on the Stars bandwagon here, but it's going to be a beauty, and we'll see if Heiskanen can do the old Willis Reed and maybe limp out onto the ice for the start of Game 7 there. But Dallas plays Colorado tough. Like, it's not a great matchup for the Avalanche, and this is another one of those situations where, like, if you're on the Colorado side of things, this could potentially be your toughest test en route to a Stanley Cup visit. It just so happens to be in the first round. So I'm still going to stick with my Dallas pick and that they find a way to get it done on home ice, especially now that Rantanen is kind of, rounded into form a little bit, and he's starting to figure things out and look like the guy that he was in Colorado all those years. But I think I voice a similar opinion to everybody north of the border, where it's like, whoever wins, just make sure you do it sometime in triple or quadruple OT, right? Let's not, you don't want to end this one too early. Let's try to push it as long as we can here.
You know what? It's all been going according to plan. A long 7-game series with a bunch of overtime. Let's crank it up a few more periods for game number 7 and see who is left for the winner of the Winnipeg Jets and the St. Louis Blues. Brandon, great stuff. By the way, when you dropped the Patrick Ewing theory in there, I thought this was going to be a theory surrounding a frozen envelope in a fixed draft lottery, but I actually prefer this theory that you've got right now for everyone to step up and be that much better in the absence of one of their leaders in Mark Scheifele. And we'll see whether the team is playing Sunday night or hosting Colorado or Dallas in game 1 next week at the Canada Life Center. Have a great weekend, pal. Enjoy the game and just fill people in on the latest on skates and plates.
Yeah, no, thanks. And yeah, we'll be back at it over the weekend. So hopefully just one episode. And then we can get ready for round 2. But so just stay tuned wherever you listen to your podcasts. Give us a listen, give us a follow, and we'll talk later on. But appreciate hopping on once again. Thanks for having me.
No problem, pal. Take it easy. Have a great weekend.
You too.
All right, good stuff with Alex Ferrario in St. Louis coming up in just a second. Hey, gang, if you haven't got or you need more whiteout gear hopefully next week, but potentially Sunday, Royal Sports restock with the new white hoodies. The latest 2 versions of the whiteout hat are in. Not to mention the biggest and best selection of Jets gear and jerseys you'll find anywhere in town. And not to mention, listen, it's going to be absolutely gorgeous this weekend. A great selection of bikes with new ones coming in every week. Soccer, baseball, softball, tennis, you name it. But the focus is, of course, on the whiteout right now. There will be another game in Winnipeg. Question is whether it's game 7 on Sunday or game 1 next week. Get ready for it down at Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. And follow them on Instagram as well, at Royal Sports Winnipeg, for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. Listen, if you haven't already made plans for your watching the game tonight, get on down to your local Boston Pizza, your Jets fan headquarters on the road. Every single BP is going to be packed tonight with the game on the big screens, full sound for the game, pick a player contest, get there early and grab Nikolai Ehlers. And, of course, the new BP playoff menu, including the triple pep pizza, the wingman pizza, and the Scoville Showdown for those of you that love the hot wings. Make it Boston Pizza tonight. And if you're staying at home or bringing people over to your spot, you can always order online at bostonpizza.com. All right, just before we bring in Alex Ferrario from St. Louis, a big cheers to all of you heading into the weekend from Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
Train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, back to St. Louis we go. Really appreciative to have Alex Ferrario of ESPN in St. Louis join us again from the rink. Alex, it's great to have you back on the show. It's been quite the series so far. What's the vibe like around St. Louis post Game 5 heading into a do-or-die game for the home team tonight?
Well, I can tell you, Andrew, the first vibe is hunger after watching those ads that you just had for pizza and wings. I'm dying right now. Look, it's excitement here in St. Louis, and that's the wildest part, Andrew. Like, I think a lot of people here in St. Louis didn't expect playoff hockey, and so it feels like it's just free hockey right now. You know, taking it back to 2019, 2021, 2022, all of those felt like the Blues needed to go win a Stanley Cup because their window was closing, and there was a lot of pressure on it. And I think the pressure paid off on the ice. Since they got into the playoffs and really coming out of the Four Nations break, it has just been excitement and free hockey, which has been fun for a lot of people, which is why I think a lot of people are just waiting anxiously. They want the playoffs to get back in action, and I expect this building to be louder than what it was in Game 3 and Game 4, which is going to be so much fun.
Well, no kidding. I mean, a Friday night It's the lone game on the schedule tonight. The entire hockey world's going to be paying attention to this one and this amazing series. And you even got new Blues fan coach John Gruden in the building tonight.
Yeah, when John Gruden, my expectation, because they typically before these games, they have some type of former Blues celebrity kind of ramp the crowd up. My expectation is they're going to show the video of John Gruden's that he put out on Barstool Sports of him saying, "Be the nightmare." I'm expecting that to happen, and then John Gruden just get people amped up. And I got to tell you, it was the one thing, Andrew, that I did not expect to see in the playoffs. You get the St. Louis people, the John Hams, the John Goodmans, the Jenna Fishers, all of those people. I didn't expect on my bingo board that John Gruden show up and get people amped up, but props to the Blues for bringing him into the arena. And yeah, that's just going to accelerate or amplify what is already going to be a deaf-tone building here at Enterprise Center.
Since he went over to Barstool, he has become maybe the most entertaining content machine in the space. And I'll tell you what, his line about everyone has their dreams and be the nightmare is an all-time classic. I'm just jealous that the Blues were able to get him on their side going into this one tonight.
Totally agree.
You mentioned, listen, this series has been rough. It's been back and forth. The teams have been taking shots at each other, and now we're even getting the coaches in the mix. Some pretty amazing back and forth between Monty and Arniel, and then Monty dealing with, and maybe you can get into this, their travel woes yesterday with the all-time crack that he spent the day in the OR.
Yeah, that's good. That's Jim Montgomery for it. I tell you, man, hockey players, hockey coaches, guys who have been in the league, Andrew, you know this better than anybody, they have the best chirps. I always am jealous of their quick retorts on comebacks for how good they are. But with the Scotty Arniel stuff, and look, I was doing post-game after Game 5, and, I was fired up with it because I just thought it was a great narrative when you get the back and forth with this one. I love how both sides handled it. And then with Jim Montgomery today saying, I was in the OR. It's just those quick wits about it. And you and I were talking before our hit. The part that gets me and why I love hockey is because it feels like they hate each other, but that these dudes respect each other. They even said it before the series began that, Jim Montgomery respected the hell out of Scott Arniel. They know each other from their AHL days. So, these two guys are going to probably have beers at the end of the season together. But for right now, it's the back and forth, which I love the narrative. This has been the most physical series in the playoffs. It's been the nastiest series in the playoffs. And I think to add more weight to it, now you get the coaches going back and forth.
Well, and listen, obviously Mark Scheifele was the victim of some of that physicality. And, it doesn't take a brain surgeon or even a medical expert like Jim Montgomery to know how people are feeling, whether you're north of the border and a Jet fan or south of the border or a Blues fan about this. But what a turn of events this morning, knowing that the Jets were up against it without Mark Scheifele, to see Nikolai Ehlers skating with the Winnipeg Jets. I can tell you that has had the notifications buzzing and a ton of excitement here in Winnipeg. Dealt one really tough blow. If Ehlers can go tonight, it right now kind of looks like he will be. Pretty fortuitous timing to get an offensive star like that back when you're missing your most important offensive cog.
Absolutely, Andrew. And to me, it's going to be massive to see how the Blues handle something like this. For me, I didn't expect Ehlers in this series.
Me neither.
And part of me wonders if maybe this is the Jets knowing hey, we can't afford to go back to Game 7. There's going to be a lot of pressure. So let's give somebody a difference maker in this series. Good on them, because if Ehlers is ready to go, you put him in the lineup. There's no point in waiting any longer. I do wonder, though, how healthy he is, and that's why I find this series so fascinating, because my guess is the Blues are going to notice him in the lineup. They know he's going to be on the ice if he's playing, and they're going to bring the physicality to him. They did the same thing with Gabe Vilardi when he returned in Game 5. The Blues' best game is when they're playing physical. When other teams are trying to draw them into that physical brand, that's what seems to bring out the demon in the Blues. So I'm sure Winnipeg's prepared for it. The Blues have been doing it in every single game this series. But when you get a guy like Nikolai Ehlers back, two things need to happen. One, test how healthy he is. Two, make sure you don't go to the penalty box for how lethal Ehlers is.
How did the Blues respond? Well, I guess we'll see how they respond when it counts, when they drop the puck tonight. But I'm interested in what you heard from the Blues after a pretty glorious opportunity, being tied in the second period, having knocked Mark Scheifele out, not having Nikolai Ehlers there, and really seeing the best of the Winnipeg Jets as a team that rose to the occasion and had so many different guys step up to make that game look a lot more like some of the games where Winnipeg had really been in control and limited many quality scoring chances from the visitors.
Yeah, it was the real first time, Andrew, in the series that I felt like the Blues were just massively outplayed by the opponent. And it was that second period. I go back to games 1 and games 2, and I felt like that the third period Winnipeg was better, but the Blues were right there with them. This one felt like it was night and day. The Blues had nothing, 3 shots on goal in that second period of game 5. A little of that felt like it was Winnipeg taking the momentum from the injury to Mark Scheifele and kind of ramming it back towards the Blues. But Jim Montgomery, Braden Shen, they both were very generic about it after that game 5, saying, look, we did not play our best hockey. They were very separated on the ice. They weren't as a unit. Defensemen weren't involved. And that's what turned into that second period. And by that time, you were already down by 2 goals, and it was a tough environment to come back in. What I will say about this Blues team, Andrew, I believe the Blues are the most dangerous team when their backs are against the wall. I go back to the end of the regular season. After their 12-game win streak, the Blues lost 3 in a row, one of those being to the Winnipeg Jets. They had to win versus Utah if they wanted to solidify that they were going to the playoffs. And what did they do? They came out and they blew Utah out of the water in the first period. They lose game 1 and 2 of the series against Winnipeg, know that they can't afford to go down 3-0 in the series, and they blew Winnipeg out of the water in games 3 and games 4. The Blues are the best when their backs are against the wall, and it's why I find this series so fascinating now, because the Blues, as we mentioned in the open, they've got nothing to lose. They're playing free hockey right now. If they force a game 7, the pressure is still on Winnipeg, and it feels like even in a game 6 facing elimination, the Blues aren't playing with any pressure.
Well, there is no doubt that the pressure was all on Winnipeg in game number 5. I mean, listen, we've talked about what's happened in the playoffs to this team against Vegas and Colorado enough for the last couple years. But those 2 games in St. Louis were sort of reminiscent of, those playoff demons coming back. And in a lot of ways, they stared them down in the final 40 minutes and got a win. And I think there's a lot of belief coming out of that. But it has been weird. Like, there's a narrative around here going into the playoffs that the Jets might have the opportunity for the ultimate revenge tour. Starting off with the Blues that bounced them in 2019, potentially the Avalanche in round 2 from last year, Vegas, who prevented them from going to the Cup final. And then, of course, the final boss being Paul Maurice and the Florida Panthers, their former coach in the final. But in 2019, the road team won the first 5 games of the series, and it wasn't until St. Louis blew the Jets out in game 6 at home that the series was won. It has been the exact opposite through 5 games. And any thoughts on why home ice has seemingly been such a factor so far? Because honestly, you can break down the games, and I realize that there's last change and there may be some advantageous matchups, but there's been 2 things that seemingly have defined these games so far. Who's winning the battles in front of the net and controlling the area in front of goaltenders, and the neutral zone. And the Jets were the better team in game 1 and 2 in that. The Blues were far and away the better team in game 3 and 4 in those 2 aspects of the game, and the Jets got it back in game 5. I mean, I don't know whether the trend continues tonight, but I can't remember a hockey series where it seems like home ice has meant so much, or at least that's what's been dictated on the ice.
Yeah, the last time that the Blues had a series to where every team won the home game was 1972 when they took on the Minnesota North Stars, and they bucked the trend in Game 7, won in overtime on the road, and they advanced to the next round. So this is something that doesn't happen a lot for the Blues. And you know what's funny about it, Andrew? That 2019 series, the Blues were bad on home ice. They were really good on the road. They were road warriors. That's what the narrative was, and it's why in the entire playoffs in 2019, the Blues dominated on the road, and they got some good wins on home ice. It has been the complete opposite this season, this series specifically. One part of me looks at it and goes with the matchups. I think that last change really has benefited the Blues on home ice versus on the road, because we've seen some mismatches take place. Winnipeg's gotten their best lines out there, specifically in Game 5 when Ryan Suter and Nick Leddy were on the ice and Texier was on the ice. And that's not typically what happens when you got here on home ice for St. Louis. But I also, and this is going to sound so cheesy of me, I do really believe the fans and the way that these buildings have played have benefited both sides. Like you mentioned, both sides, and the narrative of the series has been winning the net front battle. Well, you know how you push yourself through the wounds of having to go stand in front and get chopped at by 6'7" Logan Stanley or by Ryan Suter and Nick Leddy? The fans and the engagement, how loud that building is. Like it feels like the wounds don't matter at that point. So that's why I really feel like these games have been so one-sided on home ice, is because when you've seen the momentum shift to one team, it's typically because that arena gets loud. Look at Game 3. This place was off the charts once the puck dropped, then Pavel Buchnevich scored 48 seconds in. The Blues got the momentum back in Game 4 before the end of the first period. It was loud. Jake Neighbors scored. And then a perfect example was Winnipeg's arena in Game 5. The second period opened up. That place was loud once again, and they scored quick. So I really feel like the fan and how loud it's been is part of the reason why, which if this trend continues, I can't wait to see what happens in Game 7.
Yeah, you know what? I was speaking with one of our earlier guests. I mean, listen, I'd be lying to you if I said that there wasn't a ton of angst around the fan base coming out of the 2 games in St. Louis. And I think the 3 days between these games was a good thing. And I think you could say the same thing about the Blues going into Game 3 after losing the first 2 in Winnipeg. But that was a crowd last night that, as much as, amongst the fan base and around the city, there was a lot of angst and a lot of worry that maybe this was going the same route that the last couple series had been. But the 15,000 plus in Canada Life Center were there really to build their team up, and they certainly did a heck of a job doing exactly that. And I would expect nothing less from a Blues fan base that has seemed to really appreciate the incredible nature of what they've done. And I'm not sure that it's quite entirely 2019. I mean, they weren't the worst team in the league or anything like that, but a coach got fired, a new guy comes in, and all of a sudden you're playing for high stakes in the playoffs. And as I said, considering what we saw in Game 3 and 4, I have no reason to believe that it'll be anything less, if not more, tonight at Enterprise.
Yeah, well, and to take a page out of that 2019 book, the Blues this season are playing that style. Like, they won in 2019 because they absolutely demolished every opponent in front of them. Like, I always reference the San Jose Sharks series in that Western Conference final. In Game 6, I think San Jose had about 10, maybe 11 players on the bench. And, like, they're supposed to have 22 of them. They did not have that many players because the Blues were just banging those guys around board to board, and they couldn't withstand that series. I don't think that's the case in Winnipeg. Winnipeg's got some tough customers out there, guys like Adam Lowry. But, you see Mark Scheifele injured. I know Logan Stanley missed a game. Everybody's got bumps and bruises at this point. And as Jim Montgomery says, the playoffs are a war of attrition. Who comes out on the other side that is able to power through with that physicality? It's why this series feels, and why when you asked me at the beginning, Andrew, how's St. Louis feeling? I think they're feeling confident because the Blues have not changed the way that they've played in the series. It's just come down to some lucky bounces, but also just some misplays that the Blues have made, which I could say the same thing for the Winnipeg Jets perspective, looking at when the Blues won games.
Well, Alex, I mean, there's also the little fact that they have won 14 straight games at home in front of the home fans. I mean, winning sort of become a habit. They're very due for a loss tonight, Alex. Very due.
That due factor always seems to come up, and I won't lie to you, Andrew. You're always kind of getting the pucker factor of, like, is tonight the night that due factor comes in? Listen to some of these numbers. The Blues in the 14 games that they have played have outscored their opponent 69-25, and they're averaging 4.96 goals per game on home ice in the 14 straight wins that they've had. Jordan Binnington has not allowed more than 2 goals in the 14 starts that he has had here at Enterprise Center. The last time that they lost was against the Winnipeg Jets coming out of the Four Nations break, which we all remember was that extra innings hockey that Joel Hofer was in between the pipes. And this, to me, is still the narrative from the St. Louis side, Andrew. Which Connor Hellebuyck are you getting? Because Connor Hellebuyck has been good on home ice, but I saw in his last 19 games since 2021, he's 5-14, and he's averaging about 4.86 goals allowed per game. And I could promise you one thing, the fans in attendance at Enterprise Center tonight will be chanting Connor from start to finish.
Yeah, well, they said they wanted Connor. Be careful what you wish for.
Amen
because
to that.
The MVP has that club in his bag, and I think we're all hoping we'll see some of that tonight. Listen, it has been a heck of a series so far. This one should be great. Obviously, everyone watching this program is hoping that we'll be able to enjoy some beautiful weather on Sunday without a hockey game, but we'll see what happens. Alex, thanks so much for doing this. It's always great catching up with you. Should be a great one tonight. Thanks for the time, and let's catch up soon. Hey, quickly, on the way out, regardless of what happens tonight or potentially Sunday, who do you think the winner of this series is going to be playing? We got Game 7 tomorrow between Dallas and Colorado, and what's been a great series as well.
Absolutely. That's been another barn burner, and it's why, to me, the team that's winning the Stanley Cup is coming out of the Western Conference. I don't think it's going to be a team from the Eastern Conference. It's just the way they play. I think the winner of this series is taking on Dallas. Colorado has been playing well, but Colorado doesn't have the goaltending advantage, in my opinion. I think Jake Ottinger versus Mackenzie Blackwood in a Game 7. I lean Dallas. But on top of it, I expect Miro Heiskanen to play in Game 7. And Dallas has been really good in facing elimination games. So I think Dallas comes out on top. So unfortunately for Jets fans, if you make it to the second round, you're not going to get that revenge tour against Colorado. I think it's going to be Dallas.
Well, they'll take it however they can get it if they're fortunate enough to make it through. Really appreciate the time. Have a great broadcast, Alex, and let's do this again soon.
Absolutely. Love the show, Andrew. Always a pleasure to come on with you. Anytime you guys need me, I love talking hockey.
Appreciate you, buddy. There's Alex Ferrario in St. Louis. He'll be firing it up at 6 p.m. tonight on ESPN in St. Louis with the broadcast. And one of the real good guys around in the hockey spaces. Appreciate him coming on with us today. All right, we are going to hear from Jim Montgomery, and let's hear from the captain as well, Adam Lowry. We'll get to that in just a minute. But as we said, I mean, there's a lot riding on tonight's game, including everybody's plans for Sunday. But with this gorgeous weather that we are about to enjoy, it is time to get out on the golf course. Mike McIntyre was mentioning that he's hoping that he's making the tee times tonight. I would love to be out at Breezy Bend on Sunday and not stressing about a do-or-die Game 7. Of course, Breezy Bend, great partners of ours here, and all of our golf reports brought to you by Breezy Bend. Scotty Scheffler on top of the CJ Cup, Byron Nelson right now, 12 under par, 2-shot lead on Johnny Vegas right now. And top Canadian, Mac Hughes, still waiting to tee off today. He's 6 under after his first round. Round 2 is suspended right now due to lightning. If you're interested in finding out more about making Breezy your long-term golfing home for you and your family, talk to our pal Corey Johnson down at the clubhouse about getting on the Breezy waiting list. And of course, you can find out more information at breezybend.ca. And hey, I've got to give a shout out to our friends at the Winnipeg Goldeyes who are ready for the upcoming season. We are just over 2 weeks away from the home opener on the 20th of May, starting a 6-game homestand against Milwaukee and Gary. And we're less than a week away from the opener of the season next Thursday in Cleburne, as the Fish are going to start in Texas, head to Kansas City, Lincoln, and then back home to start their season. Stay tuned to WST for information on our WST patio party night, as well as a couple of other group nights later on today. And go to goldeyes.com for season tickets, mini packs, patio bookings, suites, and more. Our friends at the Goldeyes would love to take care of you, and it's sure feeling like baseball season when you go outside right now. All right, we heard from Scott Arniel earlier today. Let's go to the other side of things. And Jim Montgomery spoke. Here is Montgomery on why he thinks the Blues can persevere in Game 6 at home.
Well, I think the best predictor of the future is your past, and our past suggests we can handle that. And just like the playoffs have resembled the regular season, like you're saying there, since the Four Nations. And I remember we beat Minnesota and we had a plane malfunction. We had to stay over. We played on a back-to-back. We had to come here, fly in day of the game, beat Anaheim. And we had a plane malfunction yesterday. You know, we didn't get in here till late. We just roll with the punches.
All right. Now, one other big topic in this series has been certainly the Braden Shen hit on Mark Scheifele, but more so Mark Scheifele's availability or lack thereof for tonight. Here's what Montgomery had to say about the Jets' top center being out for Game 6.
Not really. You want to play any player that's missing out on the opportunity to play in the Stanley Cup Finals, I have empathy for. Whether it's a Jets player or it's Holloway or Tucker that aren't going to get the opportunity to play right now, because you work all season for this opportunity. So you'd like to see everybody in the lineup, But the Stanley Cup playoffs it's a war of attrition. And early in the series here, both teams have had significant injuries. And, we got to make sure that we're just playing to our identity. Us, Pack of Wolves mentality is more important than any individual on our own team and for the other team as well. It's about us.
All right, so there's Monty. One more from Monty, and this is just on the end. Shout out to the Soch, by the way, the private aviation insider and longtime WST listener. Soch was all over it yesterday with live pictures from the private airport of the Blues playing on the tarmac. And I saw his tweets being quoted in multiple stories across the internet. So great work on that, Soch. Big J material for sure. Yeah, there it is with the plane. And apparently, I think he tweeted at 6:38, the St. Louis Blues bus finally showed up there in time, and Soch was on plane watch all day. So they finally got out, they got back, but here's Montgomery just on the travel snafus they had to deal with yesterday.
Yeah, I think because we've been through it in the regular season, like I say, we don't even talk about it. I know some guys took a nap, some guys play cards, some guys watch a Netflix series, whatever the case may be. You just do what you do to give yourself peace of mind, and we got home at plenty of time. We got great sleep, so we're fine.
All right, so there's Jim Montgomery, head coach of the Blues, heading into tonight's Game 6 at the Enterprise Center. We're going to hear from Adam Lowry in just a minute. Let me fire out the why not question of the day for Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray. The chat is responding now. Remis has the poll up. How confident are you in the Winnipeg Jets tonight? This is for Game 6. Your options: Jets close it out in 6, feeling pretty good, total toss-up, or Blues force Game 7. Vote in the chat. Give us your thoughts in the chat as well. We'll get to that, your answers on that coming up after we hear from Captain Adam Lowry. And listen, it was all smiles. We saw the grin on Scott Arniel's face. Nikolai Ehlers potentially in the lineup tonight, a game-time decision. But he was out there with Captain Adam Lowry and Cole Perfetti in the line rushes. Here's what Lowry had to say on what Ehlers would bring to the lineup in his line tonight.
Adam, what would it mean to your lineup if Nikolai Ehlers plays tonight?
Yeah, it'd be a big boost if he's good to go. I think, obviously with Mark not playing tonight, that's a huge hole to fill, power play, the big minutes. But, if Nicky's ready to go, if we can kind of, have him step into the lineup, that's a big boost for our offensive game. Big boost for our transition game, and adding another elite player into the lineup, it would be a huge boost, especially with the loss of Scheif for tonight.
A little bit more from the captain on his role, assuming Ehlers is playing, in between two very talented players on the Winnipeg Jets, Nick and, of course, Cole Perfetti.
Yeah, I think regardless of who you play with, our team does well when we're playing in structure. We're making reads as a 5-man unit, and I think I bring the responsible defensive play, staying under it, winning board battles, and stopping the cycle in the D zone, and want to get in on the forecheck and get the puck in those guys in their hands as much as possible. If Nicky's good to go, he's an elite transition player. He can make things happen when it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of space. And Fetz has had a real good series for us. He's taken a big step forward this year. I think real cerebral player. He makes such underrated reads in the offensive zone that is, he's able to get loose pucks recovered, and real great vision on him, and he's got a good scorer's touch. So just try and make space for those guys and let their skill do the work.
Yeah, mentioning Cole Perfetti and his play, he's been a little snake bit. He is so due right now. He's been getting chances. We'll get to the cool bet lines in a minute, but I didn't mind a plus 345 number on a Perfetti anytime goal today. And we have cooked up. We've had to update the WST parlay for tonight. We'll let you know about that in the cool bet segment coming up in a couple of minutes. Here's Adam Lowry on his team's opportunity to close out the series tonight on the road.
Well, it's an awesome opportunity for us. I think looking back at Game 5, that was our best game of the series, and like we had said, we felt like we had more to give. After the first 4, and start to finish, KC gets us off to a great start. But all throughout the lineup, I thought there was a lot of big contributions from guys stepping up, especially coming out in the second, losing such a key player, Mark. But it's going to take more of the same. St. Louis has been great at home since the Four Nations break. They've played 2 excellent games here. They come out, they skate hard, they forecheck, and really got on the body and really put us on our heels. I think if we have that attack mindset, that quick skating, forechecking mentality that we had in Game 5, that's kind of the way we can break that down.
Now, of course, the topic all around the morning skate was Ehlers' potential availability tonight. Lowry was asked just about Ehlers' mindset heading into his potential return.
Yeah, I think it's probably similar to Gabe's reaction and mentality. Get hurt near the end of the season, and obviously you're hoping. You're not sure what the timeline looks like. You're hoping that the guys can keep pushing far enough that you can heal, so you feel good to go, feel ready to go. I think he's excited. If he gets in, he thinks he can be a difference maker for us, and we view him as a huge piece of our team. Kind of in both ends of the rink. I think he's had a real good year. He really brings an element to that second line. With the puck, without it, the speed, get into the middle of the ice. So, I think he's excited. If you can't go win it in your first shift, though, I think for him it's important. Just take the game as it comes. He'll make things happen when they're there, and he's a good veteran player. I expect him to be a difference maker if he gets in.
Should we be?
All right, now one more from Lowry. And listen, this team has been dealing with it throughout this series with Velarde's unavailability early on, Nikolai Ehlers up until now, and now dealing with the loss of Mark Scheifele. Here's the captain on players just going through injury in the playoffs.
The medical staff's not putting anyone out there if they're going to be in a situation that it's going to get worse or potentially dangerous to them. So I think they've done a great job with the treatment. He's done a real good job of making sure he's dialed in on all this extra recovery stuff he can do, and sometimes it takes time, but to see him skating with us the last few days and know he's feeling good, we're excited. But everyone at this time of the year is playing with bumps, bruises. You just want to do your best to get through these games as a team, and you make it long nights for the opposing team.
All right, good stuff from the captain. Now, a couple things. In the chat, if you're with us live right now on YouTube, make sure to click on that link if you want to head down to the watch party tonight at Canada Life Center. We've got a pair of tickets that we'll be giving away for that, so make sure to enter. Click on that link. Now let's get to fan feedback, brought to you by Fans First, your number one spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market with no fees. When you go to fansfirst.ca and you look at a pair of tickets and you see a price, what you see is what you pay. No added fees. And of course, the best place if you've got extra tickets that you need to sell with quick and prompt payment the day after the game, e-transferred to you, and you know exactly what you'll be getting when you post tickets up on Fans First. The question was, how confident are you in the Jets tonight? And the vibes are high in the WST chat right now. 51% feel the Jets close it out in 6 despite the loss of number one center Mark Scheifele tonight. 21% are feeling pretty good. 17% say it is a total toss-up, and 10%, probably the Blues fans that are joining us, welcome all, going 10%. Blues force Game 7 And we're back at it on Sunday night at Canada Life Centre. Keep your votes coming in and your takes in the chat. Fans First, fan feedback, brought to you by Fans First, by fans, for fans, no fees. Check out the site today ahead of the Jets' next home game, whether it's Sunday or next week, at fansfirst.ca. All right. Hey, what's up? Big Ukes here. Shout out to all the nasties and the ESTers. Congratulations on the Oilers moving on last night. Still work to be done for Winnipeg. And, of course, we've got that great Coolbet exclusive that we've been sitting on for, 2 or 3 months. The Lock Shop Bowl, Winnipeg, Edmonton, Oilers, Jets in the Western Conference Finals. We will get to Coolbet lines coming up in just a minute. Or in fact, you know what? Why don't we do it now, and then we can get ready for marbles while we talk to our pal Kirt Contois. Listen, the focus for everybody is tonight's game. And this one is pretty close to a pick'em. And it's actually gone a little bit in the Jets' favor. When I looked earlier today, the Blues were minus 116 favorites, and the Jets were even money. We've now got the Blues as the slightest of favorites at minus 112. And the Jets at minus 104. Total for the game is 5. If you take it to 5.5, under 5.5 is minus 152. So certainly the odds makers are feeling that goals are going to be at a premium in tonight's game. And this is pretty darn close to a pick'em, Winnipeg and St. Louis. Now, with the news of Nikolai Ehlers' return, I had to update the WST parlay tonight. And let's look at the guys that are going to need to make an impact for Winnipeg tonight. And this is a pretty simple one, gang. Plus 575 with the boost. Shout out to Jake and Pat for making that happen. Jets to win. Kyle Connor to get a point. Cole Perfetti to get a point. And Nikolai Ehlers to get on the score sheet in his return for the Winnipeg Jets. So if you like the Jets to win and Connor, Ehlers, and Perfetti all to get on the score sheet, goal or an assist, boosted parlay for WSTers in the exclusives, plus 575 for that. As far as for the Game 7 tomorrow in the Stanley Cup, Colorado minus 135 road favorite against the Dallas Stars. Dallas plus 115. The series price for the Jets is still minus 500. Blues plus 375. And we've got 3 new series set up after last night's action. Florida minus 182 series price. Toronto plus 150. Edmonton and Vegas, pretty darn close. Coolbet's got the best number for this, I can tell you that much. Oilers minus 115, Vegas minus 105. So pretty close to a pick'em. And the Caps in Carolina, Caps still plus 134 faves, or underdogs, I should say, in Carolina, minus 164. We'll continue to have contesting for cool bettors going into round 2. If you have entered already in the playoffs in the PEG contest, we are going to wait hopefully until next week to give away our next pair of tickets, because that'll mean there's no Game 7. If the Blues win tonight, be sure to check in on the channel tomorrow. We'll do a little, there will be a recap tonight afterwards with Connor and Michael Remis. But we'll jump on tomorrow, chat a little bit, and then execute a marble race for the playoffs in the PEG contest for Sunday's Game 7, if necessary, and hopefully it won't be necessary, but another good reason to make sure you're subscribed to the channel and turn on your notifications for additional Winnipeg Sports Talk content. All right, we've got a marble race coming up. Oh, by the way, if you haven't played a Coolbet before, it's a great time to get an account. Use the promo code WST for a 100% bonus, up to $200 on your first deposit. And we've got a couple amazing contests coming up with Coolbet, where some will be exclusively for cool bettors with people with Coolbet accounts. So no time like the presents, folks. Use that promo code WST. All right, marble registration is open right now. We'll get to that in about 15 minutes. but it is our annual, speaking of great wagers, Kirt Contois came in and dropped Mage on us 2 years ago for the Kentucky Derby. It is the Run for the Roses. We are counting down to May 13th for opening day at Assiniboia Downs. So before we do the marble race and before they run at Churchill Downs tomorrow, let's welcome in Kirt Contois from Assiniboia Downs to fill us in on who we should be riding with in the Kentucky Derby. All right, well, it's May, and you know what that means. We're counting down the days to opening day at Assiniboia Downs, May 13th, but we first leg of the Triple Crown going on Saturday, and that means our first of a few annual visits from our pal Kirt Contois, the voice of Assiniboia Downs, and a man that in the past 4 years has dropped a couple of beauty winners for the Run for the Roses here on WST. Let's welcome him in right now. Kirt, what's going on? You ready for some live racing at ASD in the Derby this weekend or what?
Oh boy, am I ever, Hustler. The Derby is a special time of year for all of us in the backside here at Assiniboia Downs, because what that means is opening day is just around the corner. So we get a little prelude to those gates popping open and the excitement of the horses that have been bought over the winter saying these are going to be superstars. But sometimes they just don't turn out that way. But it's definitely an amazing time of year for us.
Yeah, we are less than 2 weeks away from the start of the live racing season. Opening day, May 13th, Tuesday. We'll go Tuesday, Wednesday in May, starting on the 13th. And then a longer schedule this year. I love it. We're going to go right into October this year. But just before we start talking Derby, what's going on the grounds right now? Give us the behind the scenes look at the preparations for the upcoming season and how everyone's getting ready to fire it up at the track on the 13th.
Well, we got 350 horses on the grounds right now. We're expecting about another 100 within the next 7 to 9 days leading up to opening day. The track's packed every single morning with the horses getting out, because this is the time of year where your horses have, for the most part, the local horses have been sitting in a field for most of the winter and putting on the winter gut, kind of like I have right now. But at least they're out there trying to work that off, getting into race fit shape. So the excitement is everywhere. The jockeys, got a bunch of new jockeys. We got some new trainers, definitely a bunch of new horses. So there's just so much going on.
Well, that is great to hear. Of course, your voice, as I mentioned, synonymous with the track. And not only have we had fun, being out there live, but I mean, I'll give a quick plug for the job that you and the team have done with the YouTube channel. Of course, Remis and I going head to head with our picks for every single race day. We're not there every day, but we're always paying close attention to what happens. And man, it's been such a great service. And you guys have kind of started your own, much like Winnipeg Sports Talk, a real great community of horse racing lovers within that YouTube channel while people are checking out your calls and, of course, all the content in advance to let us know what the heck is going on when you team up with Stretch and drop all of your thoughts and picks.
Well, yeah, ASD Live has really got itself a following since we started it during COVID. And I go on trips in the wintertime to try and hustle horsemen to come race at Assiniboia Downs in the summer as they're racing in Texas, Phoenix, Nebraska, Denver. And the most surprising thing is our religious following on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday nights. They say they love sitting, watching the races, they're playing it, and they had never played us before. But when COVID hit and we were one of the first tracks, they jumped the board, and it's just snowballed since. And some tracks they left during COVID or after COVID, but for us, they stuck with us. And it's amazing just the amount of people's heads that snap when I start talking while I'm out, and all of a sudden, hey, I know that voice.
That's Kirt Contois.
And they figure it out, and that's exactly what they do. Kirt, how's it going? And you know what? That is great for the sport and great for Assiniboia Downs, who used to be just a little tiny speck on the map.
Well, I'm not surprised that your voice is recognizable. I mean, if I hear at any point in my life, there are no changes, I will immediately think of you as we get through it amongst some of your other signature calls. But listen, we got to wait till the 13th for live racing and the official Assiniboia Down season to get going. But this Saturday, it's the big one, the Kentucky Derby. Give us just the lay of the land right now, including the latest information with a couple scratches and a horse that has been added to the field with these two horses having to drop out.
Yes, so the field is 20 horses for the Derby, which it starts with. And the 4-horse Rodriguez was scratched yesterday. So scratch meaning it won't be running. And then Grande, the 10-horse, was scratched just a little over an hour ago. But with those scratches, they actually had 21 horses on the program. The last time this happened was in 2022, and a little horse by the name of Rich Strike won at 80-1 coming out of the also eligibles, which is you're sitting on the bench waiting for someone to pull out, and then you get in. So the 21 is in. So they're going postward for the Derby with 19 horses tomorrow.
We'll get into that horse that's been added in a minute, but I'm looking at updated lines right now over at CoolBet. Obviously, throughout the year for the track, we're using HPI Bet, but for the big ones, you'll be able to see it in a lot of different areas. And it seems like this is up to date with the latest morning scratch as well, as Journalism is just south of 3-1 at plus 275. When you talk about the Derby, this has been the favorite, kind of opening at around 7-2 when the field was full. When you lose a couple contenders, that number will come down a little bit. Tell us about the favorite Journalism and why so many people are high on this horse to win the Derby.
Well, Journalism has only started 5 times. First time it started, it ran third. But that was only going 6 furlongs, which is 3/4 of a mile. But since it stretched out to a mile and over, wow, this is a different horse. Has won 4 in a row now. Comes off a really good win last time out in the Santa Anita Derby, which was a hard-fought win over number 21 Beza. But Journalism has a really nice running style. We haven't had a Derby horse go wire to wire in some 15 years. So that's not the horse you want. Journalism sits middle of the pack, makes a run at him. It just looks tenacious, ears always pointed up, and the horse just keeps on going. So the distance won't be a problem. And I just think it's a hot horse going into the Derby.
Beyond Journalism, you got Sovereignty at 6-1, Sandman at 8-1. Those are the only other horses that aren't double digits. Just quick thoughts on the 2-3 horses as far as the odds go, and then we can get into some of the other horses that you're keen on at bigger numbers.
Well, Sandman has a deep running style, but post position number 17 has not been kind to Derby horses. No Derby horse has ever won out of post position number 17 and has only hit the board top 3 once. So in saying that, is it the worst post position you can have? No, it's not. Maybe there hasn't been good horses coming out of post 17, but just going with 0 for 17 derbies, nothing coming out of the 17 hole doing good. It doesn't look good for Sandman, but the only thing that does look good is that the horse is a deep closer and doesn't need the lead, doesn't have to force things, will be able to just settle back, find a position, and make a late run. But Sandman's last race looked dynamite in the Arkansas Derby. That was an easy win, but it'll be testing much tougher in here. And Sovereignty's kind of like Sandman with an off-the-pace running style, but sits a little bit closer. Draws outside again, but it'll be sitting a little bit more towards the forward part of the pack. But in that sense, might get hung out a little bit. And that's the only problem I have with Sovereignty is with it sitting, say, 6th or 7th, there might be 3 horses on the inside. So running around the track going a mile and an eighth when you're 4 wide you're going a mile and an eighth and an extra 50 to 100 yards. So this is a game of necks, noses, and I think Sovereignty's not going to get a very good trip.
Kirt Contois from Assiniboia Downs is getting us ready for the Run for the Roses, the Kentucky Derby on the weekend. Kirt, just before we talk about some of the other horses, tell us about the importance of starting position, post position, if you will. Okay. These are massive races, right? I mean, like normally we're looking at races at the track between 6, 9, 10, 11 horses. It's a lot different when it's 19 or 20, isn't it?
It is a world of difference, especially if you're on the inside. If you have speed, you have to get out of the gate. Sometimes horses break a tiny bit slow. In a 20-horse field, you break a tiny bit slow. Everything from the outside feeds to the inside to the rail. So everybody coming out of the gate is going to go for their position that they've talked to the trainers about. The speed is going to go towards the front. The other ones are going to try and take back. But in the end, they're all going to try and get down to that rail. So if you're on the inside and you don't get out of the gate well, you're going to have a real hard time because everybody comes down, takes all the good positions, and then you got to kind of weave your way through traffic. So that's why it's not good to have the inside. On the outside, if you don't have any speed and you like to sit middle of the pack, you're going to be sitting on the outside of 2 or 3 horses that are already going to be there. So that one, and you have to go farther when you're on the outside than if you're on the rail. So that's the disadvantage of having that outside post. And even if you have speed and you're going to make the lead, you got the ones in the middle and the ones on the inside that are gunning for the lead. They're not going to let you have it easy. So that's why this is such a crapshoot with the amount of horses. Trouble is everything in this race. You have to have everything go your way if you're going to get the win.
All right, Kirt, let's get down to brass tacks here. You have had a great record here on WST of great sage advice for those of us that aren't quite very familiar with the Derby going into it. Who's your favorite play, and who are a couple of the other horses that you think are live and might be getting a little sprinkle from you?
Well, my favorite play is the one I was hoping to get in. That is number 21, Beza. Everybody likes
this is the added horse. This is the one that wasn't going to be in if it was the full 20 field.
Yes, it wasn't getting in. I was all mad. I'm like, there's a maiden in here who's never won a race, and he gets in, and my horse doesn't get in. What is going on? He got more points than mine, but he ran second to Journalism. And as you can see on your early odds, he is not getting a lot of respect. And 2 years ago, I picked Mage, who won at 15-1 after a race that ran against Forte, who ended up getting scratched in the Derby. But this horse, Beza, is a half brother to Mage. They got the same mom. They have a different dad. The running style is almost exactly the same. Coming into the race, Beza made a big move, grabbed the lead, and then Journalism came from behind him and nipped him at the wire and went on past. That was the duplicate race of the Forte Mage race. I just see it playing out the same, and I'm loving every part of the 16-1, but maybe they're not betting it because of the outside post.
Yeah, so he'll be the wide, like he'll be the last horse, like the farthest out.
Oh yeah, he'll be the farthest out, but I expect him to sit about 6th or 7th. He'll be in that going towards the front, but not with the front 5 horses. He'll be in the next pack of 5 horses.
Kirt, let's also talk about, Beza. Do you like Journalism to place? If you were going to be putting together maybe a bit of a triactor box, who are the horses that you think will be contending, whether we're talking about winning or maybe getting on the podium, especially for people that like the exotics as opposed to just a straight up win bet?
Well, for ASD Live, I ended up boxing 6 horses in the triactor, And I kind of guessed yesterday that Beza would get in. And usually you don't talk about the horses that aren't in the race. And I just couldn't shut up about this horse. And now it is in the race. But there's a couple I like. The one, Citizen Bull. You got to watch out for this one. Bob Baffert has said, I am going to the front with this horse at all cost. And with the 4-horse Rodriguez scratch, that was the other one that has really good early speed. So maybe Citizen Bull, the one, might be able to control the pace. And you're getting good odds right now. It's probably going off at about 25-1. So I think that one's a good one to throw in. Also, another one I like is Burnham Square. This is a deep closer in here. Should get a good trip out of the 9-hole, which will be the 8-hole because of the scratch of Rodriguez. Since they put blinkers, they made that equipment change to kind of focus the horse. He's won 3 out of 4 with 1 bad race against Sovereignty. And Sovereignty is going to be getting bet off the board. I think it was just one of those blemish races. Wasn't feeling good that day. But the other 3 starts and the last one were amazing. So the 9, definitely a big one for me. Journalism, of course. You might want to throw in a couple more. Sovereignty, that horse makes sense. But Luxor Cafe, Forever Young, ran such a good race last year, was kind of muddled with Sierra Leone down the lane to lose to Mystic Dan in the end. But Forever Young's turned into a monster. Japanese horses who I used to throw out up until about 4 years ago, their breeding program has just gone leaps and bounds. And this Luxor Cafe, the 7-horse, looks really, really interesting and just might be able to get a part of things. And maybe even one more to throw in, number 12, East Avenue. This is a 2-year-old champion. Didn't do good in its last race as a 2-year-old, but first race as a 3-year-old, didn't do well, and then ran a great race last time, only to lose by a nose to the 9. So another one with good price and with a little bit of speed. So at least you get to cheer early on for your horse.
Kirt,
you got a deep closer, it's tough.
This has been awesome. Cannot wait, most importantly, to get out and see you and Stretch and the gang out at the track beginning on May 13th. But always love your wit and wisdom and picks. We made some money on Mage. Let's do it again. I'm in on Beza, and we're moving lines right now. I see I got it in there. We're now down to 14-1. So timing is everything on these things.
It definitely is.
We'll look forward to catching up with you for the rest of the Triple Crown, and we'll see you at the track on the 13th of May for live racing at Assiniboia Downs. Thanks for doing this, buddy.
Awesome, Hustler. Thanks for having me, buddy.
Kirt, man, tomorrow's going to be great. Beautiful day outside. The Derby and then Game 7 between the Stars and Avalanche. May it be the only Game 7 we have in the National Hockey League this weekend. Not something you'll normally hear me say, but I think everyone understands the circumstances. All right, we're ready for marbles. Thanks again to Kirt. May 13th, opening day at Assiniboia Downs. We'll look forward to doing an event with some of you all out there as well this year. All right, well, I think we're ready to roll. We'll find out from the maestro of the marbles, Michael Remis, where we're going today. But first up, let's fire off the theme song, get ready for marbles, and then Game 6 between the Jets and Blues. right. Tristan Rivers Music. Shout out to Tristan. I know he's been in the chat today. The best there is in the business. Appreciate you, buddy. Two quick things to mention. I see some people. Who is that just jumped on Beza at 14-1? Our friends at Coolbet. Normally horse racing, when we're doing all our picks for Assiniboia Downs, we do it at the HPI Bet, which has Assiniboia Downs. For the Triple Crown, though, it's already up at Coolbet. And whoever it was that said they just jumped on Beza at 14-1, I did too. Kirt has had a great track record of dropping winners on us. So, listen, you might want to go on journalism, which is down to, I think, about plus 250 with these recent dropouts of the race, the scratches. But Beza, 14-1. Kirt will be a WST legend if he does it again at a nice number like that. You'll see the Kentucky Derby just in the column at Coolbet. The WST parlay is up right now. Jets to win, Perfetti, Ehlers, Connor, all to get a point tonight, plus 575. And again, if things don't go our way tonight, tomorrow, pay attention to the YouTube channel. Great reminder to turn on your notifications. We will pop it up and do a marble race for the playoffs in the peg contest with Coolbet and send somebody to Game 7. But hopefully we'll be doing one next week and talking about the next home game for the Winnipeg Jets being in round 1 and not being a 7th and deciding game of this series. All right, let's get Remo in here. Reem, huge show today. Top 900 in the chat. I imagine there's plenty of people that are locked in on the marble race as well. How are we looking?
A lot of people in the marble race. I loaded the entries. Some people tried to get in late. Sorry, Jake Bullenmoss, you are not in.
Oh, JBM.
I closed it, and then Tyson Ducharme hit the command right after. Sorry, Tyson.
We're on a tight schedule. We got to get this podcast up before the game. I know you all understand.
We have 340 marbles in.
Whoa!
Yeah.
That's an all-time record, I think.
Yeah, and we only have 300. Oh, we got 340 likes in the chat. Okay, that's a perfect.
Okay, come on, everyone! If you're with us, hit that thumbs up, please. That should have. We were over 900. We should have 500 thumbs up minimum.
That's a perfect ratio. One, each marble person in the race has liked it. Although I did add you at the end, and Nikolai Ehlers and Dominic Toninato. Look, we could add Nemestikov. We could add Helly's paddle save. We could add a lot of things. We could add the Bombers quarterback that they drafted earlier. I mean,
Elgersma for sure. He'll have some time to get marbles. We could have done Dr. Montgomery too, but he's not getting a marble.
Yeah, Dr. Montgomery, we saw him in chat looking for ailments for any chatters. So a lot of people having a good time. In the chats today.
All right, well, let's do it. What track are we doing?
We're doing the accelerating, bamboozling, boom, 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 boom.
Oh, yes. Listen, I'm so glad you did that. While we were playing that last interview, Remis tipped me off that there's a new single from AJ and Big Justice. I listened to it while we were playing Kirt. I am so pumped for Game 6. And yes, the boom will be brought tonight by the Jets at the Enterprise Center in game number 6. All right, I believe this is a record-breaking number of marbles, 340 in the chat. Good luck to all of you. And remember, if necessary, I hope we don't have to do this, but if necessary and there is a Game 7, there'll be a special race tomorrow. Make sure you're entered, and make sure, if you haven't already, as I mentioned, got your Coolbet account, make sure you do it, and you'll have twice the chance to win for this one, and you'll also have the opportunity to win some exclusive contests for Coolbetters coming up in the weeks to come with Winnipeg Sports Talk. All right, without further ado, we got a game to play tonight. Let's drop these marbles and see who the winner is on this beautiful Friday afternoon in the Peg on WST. All right, interesting drop, and I mean so many marbles. This is Pesky Nesky looking pretty good. I see BK in the front. Cam Thang, Wild Thang himself. in first. We've got Lou. We've got Carter. But Cam Thang looking pretty good. All right, a jump up. Now, does this go in? Jefferson Peters? Oh, no. Our first victim.
There's
All
too
caps
many.
Kyle just got dropped. Yeah, I mean, hey, with 340 marbles, there's going to be a lot of casualties. Who's coming out of the first orb? The angling, does that say the angling oracle?
That's correct.
Shout out to the angling oracle. Oh, geez. Now there's just, I've never seen so many marbles in one spot at the same time. But the angling oracle is out in front, in first place. Oh, look at this. Very interesting. TH Power and the Angling Oracle seem to be a step or two ahead of everybody else. But we have a few hundred marbles all in the mix right now. Anybody could win on this course. The ascending bombastic boom. Any chance to boom on WST, I'm taking it. Angling Oracle, Kent Reimer, Pretty in Pionk, looking pretty good. But man, the Angling Oracle, bit of a stop. Cowboy, speaking of cool betters, Cowboy's been a long-time lock shopper, and I saw Cowboy actually before the game on Wednesday. I was popping off for a beer before his pooling. All right, looks like the Angling Oracle is right here. It's his to lose, his or hers to lose. Angling Oracle all alone. Will it drop first? It hasn't yet. And there it goes. Your winner today in the world famous WST marble race, the Angling Oracle. Mike Irv right there. Who got second, Remis?
Whoa, must be nice, man.
Whoa, must be nice, man. In second, Mike Irv in third place. Snuka 2002 in fourth. Cowboy in fifth. Choices TK 5. Jake Slobodian 7. Drew Music 8. Billy Blast 9. And Cassie Kraft in 10th. Mr. V-Dub just got burnt. Coach Mike popped in, but there we go. Another new winner. The Angling Oracle brought the boom right here on the WST marble race. We'll run down. Oh, Big Uke from the WS tiers, or from the ES tiers. 14th place, pretty nice. Hey, Uke, by the way, stay tuned and tell the peeps we're still going to be doing poker tourneys. We'll have a date for one next week. Oh, there's Mary Jane, top 20. Nicely done. But we will be, once we find out what's going on for round 2, we'll set up a date for the next Dominic Toninato, 37th today, for the next poker tourney. There's Wicked John. I see Spills, Sarah May, Evan Hunter, Kelly Strothman, Rick Benson, D. Chalice, my seatmate, Michael Lay, accountant to the stars. What's up, Mike? Enjoy the game tonight. I see Big Daddy Brent. There's Mike Wynn. Wynn Dog, where are you watching the game tonight? Greg Hasbeek. There's low budget. I still haven't seen my marble. Rob Pepper. CP. The Running Man. BA Split. Royal. Spency. What's up, Spency? Uh-oh. I don't think I finished. So 229 made it. And then here's the list of victims. Dr. Terry. Dr. Terry on his birthday got top roped. Not fair for the man over at St. Patel Dental Center. There's Wayne Bretsky, Pretty in Pionk. There's Hustler. I think I was one of the early marbles that got popped. I was a very early marble. Jefferson Peters was the first one out. Then all caps Kyle, Rob Mahoney, and I was right out. But the Angling Oracle, first ever winner, nicely done. And a pretty comfortable win too, considering the competition. 12 seconds, very impressive. Angling Oracle, fire us an email, winnipegsportstalk@gmail.com. Let me know what your hoodie size is. And we will get in touch with you early next week, and you can set up a time to pop by and pick it up. What a show it's been. This has been an all-timer. Hit 900 live in the chat today. Excitement is high. Ehlers is back. And let's see if the boys can go in there and get a win and clear up everybody's weekend and get plans made for next week. Puck drops at 7 tonight, folks, wherever you're watching the game. I hope you have a great one and an awesome weekend. And again, stay tuned to the channel. Afterwards, Remis and Connor will have a recap up later on tonight or for you when you wake up tomorrow morning. And if it doesn't go the Jets' way, don't forget, we will execute a special marble race tomorrow on the YouTube channel for the Coolbet WST playoffs and the PEG contest and send one of you to Game 7. But hopefully we'll be finding more fun ways to send cool bettors and WST listeners to playoff games next week for round 2 against either the Avs or the Stars, who play their Game 7 tomorrow night. Thank you to Kirt Contois. Thank you to Alex Ferrario, Brandon Rewucki, and of course Mike McIntyre for joining us from St. Louis today. Thanks to everyone that's in with us. Get ready for some gorgeous weather and hopefully some good vibes all weekend long. Enjoy the game tonight, everybody. Thanks for being with us. Appreciate all the support of the sponsors that make WST happen each and every day, but most of all of you making us a part of yours. Go Jets, go. See you Monday, 1 p.m. right here on WST.
Oh my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.